Zelda Invades Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 551 Avengers vs X-Men. Egypt, one of the earliest birthplaces of civilization on Earth. Those magnificent pyramids, until yesterday, still stood on this dry land. But now, it has become a ruin. Apocalypse used his own powerful strength to build a huge palace for himself with bricks and stones. Its grandeur is greater than any building on Earth, and it can be clearly seen even on the space station. This amazing feat was easily accomplished by Apocalypse alone. Apocalypse recruited a total of 12 apostles for himself, each of whom had unique skills, and was the strongest mutant in their respective fields. His apostles witnessed the terrifying power of Apocalypse with their own eyes, and they were even more terrified and awed in their hearts. They almost regarded Apocalypse as a god. But one of the apostles was quite disdainful. When others were amazed or terrified, he always maintained a very cold attitude and calmly lit a double-thick cigar for himself. Apocalypse looked at the sky and suddenly said, "There are uninvited guests. My children, keep an eye on them." The plane slowly descended and stopped in front of the huge palace built by Apocalypse. The hatch opened, and the Avengers walked out. Tony was still chattering about the various features of his plane. No one on Earth could compare to him. Everyone was a little impatient. Only Link and Pepper kept nodding their heads and drinking Coke leisurely. Mora stared at the palace in front of her blankly. How terrible. Tony whistled contemptuously. Indeed, it's terrible. A super large old-fashioned building that can kill them in the summer. Professor X was shocked. This is the ability to control everything. At this time, the voice of Apocalypse came from the sky. "Charles, welcome to your arrival, my child." Midona said to Link, "This guy speaks like the goddess Hylia. He always talks about children, regardless of whether others are willing or not." Charles took a deep breath. "You know me." Strange smiled and said, "How does it feel to be remembered by an antique life with a lifespan of thousands of years?" Apocalypse ignored the other Avengers. He flew high in the sky, looking down like a god. This was what Mora and others thought. But for people like Link and Zelda who had truly seen the gods, Apocalypse seemed much less capable, and more like an ambitious man with ulterior motives. Tony also flew up. "Hello, architects from ancient times. I know it's a cruel thing to sleep lazily for thousands of years and suddenly wake up to find that you have no job. But even if you have such a secret, we can't sit idly by and watch you destroy the city and create a large number of jobs for nothing, right?" Apocalypse ignored Tony's nonsense, but was angered by Tony's flying mechanical armor. "You ridiculous slave, trying to compare yourself with the real god with this kind of pretense." He controlled his power towards Tony, trying to tear Tony in half. At this time, Scarlet Witch also flew up quickly, using the Scarlet power to barely block Apocalypse's attack. Scarlet Witch shook her hands and complained to Tony behind her, "Boss Stark, this guy is very powerful." Apocalypse's eyes lit up. "Another outstanding mutant. Kid, come here. I will give you a glorious future." Scarlet Witch pouted and glared at Apocalypse. "Big liar. Hand over my dad." Apocalypse asked puzzledly, "Your dad? Wanda? Pete?" At this time, the other 12 apostles of Apocalypse also flew or ran out of the huge palace. Mora hurriedly said, "These are the 12 apostles of Apocalypse. Each of them has extremely powerful superpowers." Link wondered, "Why is there 12? There are so many more." A handsome middle-aged man floated over upright, with a thin steel plate under his feet. This man was Magneto, the father of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Natasha and Tony looked carefully. They had seen Magneto before his superpowers were awakened. At that time, he was very ordinary, and there was nothing that could impress Natasha and Link. But at this time, Magneto was very eye-catching, like a leader of an era. It must be said that the changes that abilities bring to people are very obvious. The awakening of Magneto's superpowers makes an ordinary person full of dazzling light. Now Magneto meets Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and the atmosphere of the original battle suddenly becomes awkward. Quicksilver put his hands on his waist and said helplessly, "Dad, what are you doing? Why do you want to join the villain?" Magneto felt the strange looks from Apocalypse and other apostles. He coughed and retorted, "Pete, now is the era of mutants. The king of mutants has appeared. It's time for us to accomplish something big." Scarlet Witch shouted, "Dad, stop it. If you keep going like this, we'll be at war soon." Apocalypse took the opportunity to laugh and said, "Yes, Maximum, Magneto's name, your two children are also gifted. The seeds of a towering tree will surely become something great." Apocalypse shouted, "Come here, Marx's two children. Together with your father, you will help me accomplish great things." Tony turned on Iron Man's loudspeaker and said, "Mr. Maximum, I once took Pete and Wanda away in front of you. I promised to take good care of the two children for you and your wife, and promised not to let them go astray again. But what do I see now? The two children have become heroes who save the world, and their father has joined the villains for some unknown reason. How do you let Pete and Wanda deal with it?" Maximum was speechless for a long time. Link was observing the other Apocalypse apostles, and his expression became more and more strange. Because this Apocalypse series of X-Men plots that he knew was different. Not only did the number of apostles increase, but some strange people also joined. Black Emperor and Red Devil, of course, are the bosses in X-Men First Class. Storm is also needless to say, she did join Apocalypse's camp in the movie. But what do you mean by Phoenix and Cyclops here in Apocalypse? Professor X's original team was played clean by Apocalypse. There is also the most arrogant, strong, and handsome man, holding a cigar with an unhappy look on his face. Even if he doesn't show the bone claws in his hand, Link can tell at a glance that this is Wolverine Logan. Apocalypse, what kind of people have you recruited? Although Professor X is on the side of the Avengers, the original X-Men are all on the side of Apocalypse. It's a whole Avengers versus X-Men. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 552 Defeat Apocalypse. Apocalypse soon regretted it. He should have just started fighting with the Avengers instead of talking nonsense here. Because Tony's mouth was too annoying, and he irritated Apocalypse with just a few words. Apocalypse said angrily, "Tony Stark, I will smack you and your weird armor into the ground." Tony sneered, "Your style of making harsh words is still the same as thousands of years ago. You should lie in the grave for a while longer. Maybe it's because your brain was eaten by the black beetles in the pyramids." Spider-Man nodded hurriedly, "That's right. Just like in the Mummy movie." Apocalypse immediately used his superpowers to control a stone pillar and smashed it towards Tony. Scarlet Witch was ready to resist, but Link soon appeared in front of her. He raised his sword and a magnificent sword energy came out. With a swishing sound, the stone pillar was neatly cut off. It fell to the ground. Link turned around helplessly and said, "Tony, are you done?" Tony curled his lips and said, "Okay, let's start the fight." Apocalypse looked at Link deeply and said, "You don't belong to this planet." Tony said loudly, "Although Link is not a native of Earth, he belongs to Earth more than you do." Iron Man made a semicircle and shot out a laser. But in midair, Magneto controlled a huge bus to block Iron Man's laser. Bang! Link and Apocalypse started fighting. The sword light spread out, and the Avengers hid away. They knew very well that when Link was fighting with others, they had to stand far away. And Magneto, very cunningly, stared at Iron Man. Magneto waved his hands and said, "I have the ability to control metal. You are not my opponent." Because he just used his superpowers to tear Tony's Iron Man suit into pieces. But Iron Man was not hurt at all, and it was just Magneto who was gesticulating foolishly in the sky. Tony said nonchalantly, "It seems that the metals you control have limitations, not including the new materials I developed." Magneto gritted his teeth, immediately rolled up a car and smashed it towards Tony. Wolverine was stopped by Natasha. Natasha raised her chin. "Hi, I've seen you. Aren't you a mercenary? Why are you here doing stupid things?" A pair of bone claws appeared on Wolverine's hands, and he threatened, "Did you choose me as your opponent?" Natasha looked at Wolverine's hands. "Nice weapon." Wolverine pounced fiercely. Hawkeye, who was ambushing in the distance, shot an arrow into Wolverine's brain. The strong body fell straight down. Natasha smiled and said, "Good job." But they soon saw Wolverine stand up again. Natasha shrugged. Resurrected. Mutants are amazing. The Red Devil rushed over quickly and found a harmless man named Addition. Ed was startled when he saw a red monster rushing towards him. A monster. The venom in his body immediately covered his whole body. The sudden appearance of the venom also scared the red devil. A monster. Storm sent down a lightning bolt. Thor jumped high and hit the lightning bolt head on. Thor was unharmed and felt very comfortable. You didn't expect it. Others used to steal my electricity, but now I can steal others' electricity. Girl, I like you very much. Strike another lightning bolt. Storm said coldly, pervert. The two sides fought in a group as usual. Apocalypse shouted, mutants are the future. You rely on strange technology to fight against us mutants. It's so arrogant. Nori said disdainfully, what are you talking about? Don't you see that your people are being beaten by our people? Apocalypse was puzzled and looked down. It was seen that in the battle, it was a fight of equal strength just now, but at this moment the Avengers have begun to gain the upper hand and suppress the apostles carefully selected by Apocalypse. The apostles recruited by Apocalypse are indeed very strong, but their opponents are the Avengers. Over the years, the Avengers have experienced a lot of battles, including strong winds and heavy rains. On the side of Apocalypse, they are all ordinary people who have just awakened their abilities. Only Wolverine has rich practical experience, but the ones fighting Wolverine are Hawkeye and Black Widow who also have skilled killing skills. Midona said, Link, you should be more motivated and quickly knock down this ugly monster. We haven't eaten lunch yet. Link nodded and chopped with a sword. Apocalypse roared, useless thing. He immediately waved his arms and the power spread out. An invisible storm came from the air, and the Avengers and Apostles fighting under their feet were repelled by the strong wind. Scarlet Witch and Vision barely stabilized their bodies in the air. The two of them looked at each other in surprise. This guy called Apocalypse is really strong. It seems to be on the same level as Thanos. And Link blocked the storm with a sword. Apocalypse said, you have never seen true power. Link's sword answered him. He stabbed quickly with his sword, unleashing a series of unique sword skills. Apocalypse countered with his own strength, and the sky changed color because of the fight between the two. Apocalypse soon realized how powerful Link was. There was something in Link's sword that made Apocalypse tremble with fear. Apocalypse said coldly, I'm too lazy to fight with you. In the battle, Apocalypse was getting more and more disadvantaged, so he stopped wasting time with Link and planned to win with one strike. Apocalypse shouted in the air and used all his strength. An invisible energy condensed in the air and suddenly released towards Link. Rogers looked at Natasha with a bit of amusement. Is he going to fight Link? Natasha nodded and said, yes. But I remember that Link never lost when he attacked others. Rogers said, it seems to be like that. The voice of the goddess Hylia appeared in Link's mind. Immediately, the light on his body turned into 7 colors. The power of Libra activated. Link held the sword of the ancient hero and raised the sword to meet the attack. He used the moves learned from the skeleton swordsman. Stab. Bang. Apocalypse was in a trance and found that his full strength attack was actually broken by Link, and Link was carrying a 7-color light all over his body, welcoming like a phoenix. Even Link's eyes were flashing with colorful brilliance. The sword pierced Apocalypse's body. Apocalypse was unharmed, but his face was extremely terrifying. He fell to the ground in a daze and fell to the ground like a corpse. This is a real divine power. Apocalypse closed his eyes. In the horrified eyes of everyone, Link fell gracefully. Tony said blankly, now, who in the universe is more powerful than Link? Is there anyone? Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 553, Peace Ambassador Zelda. That's right, the battle between Link and Apocalypse ended so quickly. As soon as Link showed his true strength, Apocalypse had no chance of winning. Now Link has collected all the power of the Holy Triangle. The 3 powers of the Triangle of Courage, Triangle of Wisdom, and Triangle of Strength merged and amplified each other, producing a qualitative change of power. Link's strength has risen to a very terrifying stage. There are almost no life forms in the universe that can fight Link to the death. In the moment when Libra's intelligence exploded, the weather had no power to fight back. Before Apocalypse could react to what happened, his life was over. Only a few apostles were left, staring at this scene in a daze. They didn't expect failure to come so quickly, and Apocalypse's death was so unexpected. Link held the sword of the ancient brave and pointed it straight to the sky. He spoke softly, but his voice was full of penetration and resounded throughout the messy battlefield. Link said, do you still want to continue fighting? Shocked by Link's terrible power, the battlefield suddenly became quiet, and the apostles gave up the fight one after another. Only the Black Emperor, who had attacked the Avengers base before, still refused to surrender. He roared angrily, and his voice full of hatred resounded throughout the battlefield. The Black Emperor roared, "Are you so weak and easy to surrender? Are you going to continue to endure that mutants are forced to live under the jealousy and hatred of ordinary people? You must understand that the battle will never end. We mutants must fight until forever, until this earth is truly in our hands." But the new Light Witch and Quicksilver came to their father, Magneto, and took his hand. They shook their heads and said softly, "It's not like that." Professor X was also silent. It was because he had just released the spiritual power that made people lose their anger and hostility, that made most mutants give up the fight involuntarily. The words of the Black Emperor aroused his long-standing worries in his heart, that is, how to achieve the common future of mutants and ordinary people. He was very worried about this. Zelda walked out quietly and said loudly, "Don't worry about this. Mutants are also born from ordinary people. The two are not different species, nor are they irreconcilable enemies. We can always find a way to live in peace with each other. This requires the efforts of every organization, every person, and every country. I will also do my own little bit of power to help mutants and ordinary people live in peace." Zelda's voice has a kind of magic that can naturally calm people down and no longer be afraid. This natural appeal is far greater than Professor X's deliberate mental interference. Navi also flew to Senator's side and said loudly, "Yes, this Princess Zelda is also very powerful. She can help you." Midona spread her hands and said, "Actually, I don't understand. There is not much difference between mutants and ordinary people. Why are they so deadlocked? In the Hyrule continent, there are several different races coexisting with each other, and everyone lives in harmony. You Earthlings like to fight too much, right?" Rogers also said, "That's right. We have experienced so many things and fought with aliens from outer space. There is no need to argue about things limited to the Earth. I believe that, no matter which country people are from, they all understand the value of mutual tolerance and respect in this disaster-ridden era. Too many battles have already broken out on Earth. Apocalypse's ambition was short-lived. Link easily defeated him. The original mutant who had been sleeping for thousands of years fell into a longer sleep again. Although he destroyed the armed forces of countries all over the world, because Link interfered in time, no more damage was caused to the Earth, and the world returned to peace. Only the Egyptians looked at the giant palace created by Apocalypse with a cute face, thinking about how to use this super large palace. Life returned to peace. The mutants were also known to people all over the world during this global disaster. They knew that there was a new race of people appearing in large numbers. But what surprised Professor X was that the conflict between mutants and ordinary people that he expected did not break out. Although some negative news about mutants can often be heard, but nothing particularly bad happened. Professor X felt that he was being self-indulgent, so he calmed down and communicated with the Avengers. He brought the defeated apostles in the Apocalypse War to his private school for training. The reason why the Earth was not in chaos because of the outbreak of mutants was actually related to a princess from another world. That was Zelda. After the war, the Avengers began to solve a series of social problems between mutants and ordinary people, and contacted people from the World Security Committee to discuss. Finally, the Avengers supervised all mutants in the world. It must be said that under Link's interference, the Avengers have a greater say in some things on Earth, and this decision was easily made. But the mutants are quite dissatisfied with the fact that they have to accept the supervision of the Avengers. So Zelda's role came into play. Zelda began to change her previous low-key style, constantly appearing in public, lobbying, and promoting the concept of peaceful coexistence between mutants and ordinary people. Princess Hyrule showed extraordinary leadership style. Under her inspiration, the mutants established a global organization to conduct self-supervision, prevent mutant crimes. The Avengers and the World Security Committee urged ordinary people to stop persecuting and hostile to mutants. Even Link always ignores Zelda's own magical potential. Zelda has natural leadership skills and the ability to convince others and obey orders naturally. The Earth is still running peacefully. The Avengers base is calm and busy, and there are always strange sounds coming from Tony's laboratory. Pepper once peeked curiously, but soon walked out in a daze, covered in black and grey. The four heroes were also constantly communicating with their own beasts, preparing. Ye followed Nilang on a long journey, saying that they felt the movement of Pharaoh Dragon. And Link was also quietly waiting, quietly practicing swordsmanship. He was waiting for the arrival of the Ender. Link knew that this decisive battle would not be too long. With a crack. Finally, the ice on the surface of the Master Sword cracked. A stern sword energy broke through the air, and the sky changed color. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 554. The Journey to a New World. Tony walked out of his laboratory tiredly. He has been very busy recently, working hard on experimental research, gathering the power of the four sacred beasts, and rushing to the edge of the universe. This kind of thing is too difficult even for Tony. Banner, Pym and other scientists on Earth came to assist Tony. With the help of Corolla and the Guardians of the Galaxy, scientists from the Nova Alliance and other forces in the Milky Way also came to Earth to conduct research together. What are you doing? Basking in the moonlight. Tony walked out the door and saw Link standing outside the house under the moonlight. Link looked a little depressed. Because he has collected the power of all the sacred triangles, Link's temperament has changed dramatically. The original sharp feeling on his body disappeared, as if returning to the lively boyish feeling in the past. Navi saw Tony and said, "Sunbathing the moon? Is that a custom of you Earthlings? How strange. Link is waiting for the blood moon to come." Tony was stunned. By the way, the blood moon hasn't happened for a long time. Midona said, because Earthlings already have the ability to defend against the blood moon disaster, Ganon doesn't need to waste his curse power to create a useless blood moon. Tony said, what a bummer. Since there is no blood moon, what are you waiting for, Link? Navi explained, although the blood moon will not erupt again on Earth, at a certain time, the curse aura in the world will periodically become stronger. This is the darkest time. It's time for Link to fight the Ender. Tony whispered, tonight. Link, are you going to fight at the edge of the universe? Link turned around and nodded. Tony continued, are you ready? Link shook his head this time. Tony said, why don't we just wait for the end to get here, then we can occupy the home ground and fight that bastard Demon King. Isn't that better? We are the one that is well rested. Navi explained, no. If Link fights the end, it will seriously affect the people around him, and you might also be affected by the war. If you are not careful, the Earth will be destroyed. Tony rubbed his still sore shoulders, came to Link, and said with a smile, I never thought that the mute boy who crawled out of the ruins has become so upright that he can even have a decisive battle with the Demon King who destroys the world. It's incredible. Link. I talked to Ethan on the phone yesterday. He also said that it was a dream for him to be able to live peacefully in the southwestern United States. He told me that he often dreams that he has actually died in a terrorist base. These past few years have been filled with disasters, but a lot of interesting things have also happened. It's a pity that after so much time, Wanda and Pete have grown up, but you and Zelda haven't changed at all. You're still like two 15-year-old kids. Link glared at Tony with a puzzled expression. Although Tony is a talkative person, he was even more unusually talkative today. He kept recalling the past, and his tone was also hazy. Tony, what do you want to do? Don't you know that reminiscing all the time is very likely to cause trouble? Okay. Don't set such a flag. Tony suddenly asked casually, Link, I heard you are leaving Earth, right? Link finally spoke. He smiled and said, Pepper said so? Tony said, yes, I got it from him. Navi explained, we were all summoned by the goddess Hylia. The goddess told us that, even if we win the battle against the Ender, the power of the curse will still exist. We may go to other worlds for adventures, to completely eradicate Ganon's shadow. Tony was silent, and after a while he slowly said, yes, just like you came to Earth. Goodbye, right? What a strange word. I just hope you don't crawl out of the ruins wearing only shorts like when you first came to Earth. Tony tried his best to be indifferent to Link's departure, because although Tony was a playboy, he was not very good at expressing his emotions. So he could only say goodbye to Link in such an awkward way. Alas. Tony sighed in his heart. But what was unexpected was that Link looked at Tony even more strangely and said, "Goodbye forever? Why? I can come back." Tony was stunned. "Link, can you come back after going to another world?" Link nodded seriously. "Yes." Midna also said naturally, "Our house, Sky King City, is just above our heads. We always have to come back to sleep after completing the mission. Even if we go to another world, this world is also our base, right? You can't expect us to never come back?" Tony coughed. "Why didn't you say it earlier? You made me so sad." "Forget it, I'm going back to work." Then Tony left happily. Midona said to Link, "But we are going to another world, which makes me a little scared. What if the people in that world are all weird?" Peppa came running to play with Link. Hearing what Midona said, he tilted his head and shook his two tentacles and said, well. Peppa is also afraid of the new world." Peppa said with a bitter face, "I have to learn a new language in the new world. Peppa just learned English not long ago." Navi said curiously, "By the way, what kind of new world are we going to?" Link shook his head. "I don't know. But the new world can only be more dangerous than the Marvel world. There are many challenges waiting for us." Midona laughed dryly. "Then I will stay and wait for you to come back from your business." At this time, Faye, who had completed the transformation, flew out of the Master Sword. Standing quietly beside Link, she said in her strange electronic voice, "Faye will always accompany my Master Link. The Master Sword currently has the ability to travel through time and space." Link smiled and nodded. Navi smiled and said, I want to see the power of the new Master Sword." Since Faye's transformation, Link has not used the Master Sword again. Link is growing, and the Master Sword is also growing. The new Master Sword is now even more powerful than before. When the transformation was successful, a sword energy accidentally flew up to the sky, causing the sky to spread a large amount of light power, and it was as bright as day at night. When fighting against the Ender, the new Master Sword will shine brightly. But Midona sighed and was a little frustrated. "Faye, you have transformed. Why are you still the same? The Master Sword has not changed in appearance except for its power. So frustrating. Are you like Link, and you can't grow up?" Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 555, The Battle Between Light and Darkness. At the edge of the universe, in that chaotic and unknown area, the Ender finally absorbed Ganon completely. At least that's what he thought. The battle between the two Demon Kings ended with the victory of the Ender. But the Ender was more angry and fearful than happy, because the curse power in Ganon's body was far more extreme than his end power. If Ganon had not been sealed by Zelda, and his body had not fully awakened, then the outcome of this battle would have been an unknown number that even the Ender was afraid of. But Ganon also gave the Ender many surprises. He found that after swallowing Ganon, his body and curse power soared to a very high level. Even this remote area of the universe could not bear its powerful energy concentration. This space of the universe has been polluted by the end power and Ganon power. The two extremely dark powers of the curse power and the end power merged with each other to form a more dangerous power. After feeling that his body had undergone an unprecedented mutation again, the Ender couldn't help but laugh wildly at the edge. Ha ha ha. No one in the world is left. Whether it's Goddess Hylia, or Link, or anyone else, no one can stop the coming of the Dark Ages. Just wait, I will issue the final judgment on the whole world. His Ender power wave spread out. The light that spread to the edge of the universe was absorbed by the terrifying dark attribute of the Ender power. Where the Ender stood, it became an eternal dark zone. Some civilized planets near the edge discovered the abnormality caused by the Ender. They were extremely frightened and looked at the end of the sky blankly. It was unclear what kind of encounter they would encounter in this era of disasters. At this time, the Earth was already in the early morning. Link didn't sleep all night, but for him, sleep has become a trivial matter. Of course, sleeping is not important, but eating is still very important. He silently enjoyed breakfast with Zelda and others. He was a little absent-minded, because in the past few days, he had adjusted his physical condition to the best combat mode. Even if he held the knife and fork, he felt a kind of There is also a feeling of holding a weapon. Now, everyone has learned that Link and Zelda are about to go to the final war. Thor and Carola said, "Why don't we go together? At least we won't be affected by your battle, and we can help a little." But Zelda and Link shook their heads at the same time. They said, "This battle does not need the intervention of a third party. Between light and darkness, there is no need for the assistance of a third force." Link felt the worry of everyone, and felt warm in his heart. He said, "Don't worry, the battle will end soon, and I will win." Pepper also sat on the table, struggling with a knife and fork and an apple. He raised his head, and said in a tender voice, "Yes. The brave man is super powerful. He will definitely win." At this time, the door of the laboratory was opened. Tony and others had not slept all night, and were busy with the final debugging of the developed equipment. Tony, with red eyes and a little excitement, walked out, followed by Banner and others. There were also some strangers that Link had never seen. But based on their appearance, it can be judged that these are top scientists from various intelligent planets in the Milky Way, because he saw several people wearing the clothes of the Nova Alliance. These are scientists invited by Carola, the Guardians of the Galaxy and others. Because of the matter of the magic sword Jerasim, the whole Milky Way is now united against the enemy. Various intelligent planets have sent a large number of top scientists to help Link. Tony straightened his clothes, then showed a proud look and said, "We have completed the super device that can amplify the power of the four sacred beasts and spread it to the end of the universe." Zelda stood up and thanked many scientists softly. "Thank you very much." Banner was also very tired. He smiled and said, "It's nothing. The end is our common enemy. The device we use to amplify the power of the four sacred beasts is the crystallization of the strongest wisdom of the Milky Way and even the entire universe. So we named it Link's Wings." Loki said, "Well, I've been hearing strange noises coming from your laboratory recently, but I didn't see anything in your hands. Where are your angel wings?" Tony just smiled faintly. "No, you think too simply. You don't know what we have done in these days. A device that can conquer the power of the four sacred beasts to the end of the universe cannot be carried with you. When the time comes, you will know." Loki shrugged and said, "Okay, I'm keeping you in suspense again." Ancient One also floated to Link's side. The wise man on Earth said to Link and Zelda solemnly, "Link, you have to be more careful." Link also smiled at the Ancient One. Without anyone noticing, Link and the Ancient One had a secret conversation. At this time, Natasha also came out of a secret room. She was carrying a sturdy aluminum suitcase in her hand, which looked very heavy. Natasha said, "Inside this is the Infinity Stone. Together with the one in Midona's hand. All the gems are in your hands. Just use them. In any case, you must defeat Ganon. Oh, by the way, it's the end of the world now." Midona was shocked. "Did you dismantle Vision?" Natasha shook her head and said, "No, I just turned Vision into the appearance of the Mind Stone." Faye also stuck her body out of the Master Sword. Faye said, "My Lord Link, I have felt the power of the end of the world increasing abnormally." Link nodded. "Let's go." From now on, his battle with the end of the world has begun. A pair of golden wings appeared behind Link, and even the color of the wings was more dazzling than before. Zelda came to his side. There was also Navi, Midona, and Pepper. The Avengers all looked at Link quietly, and for a moment, no one knew what to say. Link was going to fight an unprecedented battle, but the Avengers could not stand beside Link, and could not even witness the battle with their own eyes, so they could only have sincere blessings for Link. Roger stepped forward and said solemnly, "Give it a try. We are behind you." Tony also coughed, looked at Link and said, unconsciously, "I have been with you for so long. I will miss you forever." Everyone hurriedly said, "Hey, what you said is too unlucky. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 556, Link vs. the Ender. Link was not good at talking, so he just smiled and nodded again. Then he took Zelda's hand, flapped his wings, and flew up into the sky. he quickly disappeared into the sky. Link was very fast, but he only created a faint breeze. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Jarvis reported, "Mr. Tony, Link has flown out of the atmosphere." Each hero was guarding his own beast. Yair and Nilong were looking for the existence of Pharaoh Dragon in the entire universe. Now all Link and others from Hyrule continent have left the Avengers base, except for a crystal statue of the goddess Hylia, which is quietly standing in the Sky King city. Thor suddenly said slyly, "Otherwise, let's follow them secretly. We can't let Link go alone." Roger smiled bitterly and said, "Don't think about it. Link will definitely find out. We just need to do what we should do. If Link really wants to ask us for help, he would have said it long ago." Tony was very calm. "It's okay. Even if we are on Earth, we can help Link. I've been busy and spent so much time. Although this battle is a matter between Link and the Ender, but we on Earth can also grab the limelight. You can do whatever you want. Link's wings will definitely give the Ender a good look." Link used the power of the space gem to travel quickly, and he quickly came to the edge of the universe. Ever since Link learned from the Ancient One that the Ender had devoured Ganon, he has been preparing carefully and waiting for this battle. Link and the Ender have never communicated with each other, but they have a strange connection in their hearts, and they are all waiting for this duel. Link knew that the Ender was waiting for him. At this time, indirect struggles such as conspiracy, puppet interference, etc. were no longer important. Fighting was the only way to resolve the conflict between the two. This is the so-called fateful entanglement. Soon, Link came to a place where the light could not cover it. It was very dark here. Nothing could be seen, as if Link and Zelda were blind. Then Link and Zelda looked at each other, their bodies shook, and dazzling light emanated from their wings. Suddenly there was a bright color in the space. Since there is no light in the world, let Link be the only light. Zelda and Zelda quickly found the Ender. The Ender at this time was different from the past. The silver-gray chest of the Ender was covered with a layer of dirty Ganon pollution like burnt skin, which spread throughout the body like a virus. The temperament was ferocious and weak, just like a malicious look projected from the abyss. Zelda stopped moving forward, and Link handed the box containing the gem to Zelda. Then he flew to within 0 meters of the Ender. The Ender saw Link's appearance. This was the first time they met. The Ender couldn't help but laugh sarcastically. His voice was very strange. "You are just a little girl and a little boy. You dare to come to fight me? Where is the Hylia goddess? As a god, she hides behind 2 children. Is she waiting for the message of your victory and fear? Is this the so-called will of light? Haha." The Ender lowered his voice. "You are just a tool in the hands of the Hylia girl." Link's response to this was to take out the Master Sword from the weapon space. The Master Sword felt the strong breath of the Ender around it. It immediately vibrated at a high frequency. At this time, even Peppa could feel Faye's fighting spirit that was within reach. Zelda looked directly at the Enderman and calmly said to him, "It's not that the Hylia girl didn't come here. Even if she is no longer with us, the goddess blessing will be with us and protect us. In the name of the goddess Hylia, we will seal you completely." The Enderman was alert when he heard the first half of Zelda's words. But when he heard the second half, he laughed even more sarcastically. "It seems that I need to use a tragic failure to tell you what is reality and what is fate." Link held the Master Sword tightly in his left hand, and the sharp blade released a bright light, pointing at the Enderman. The Enderman nodded. "Since you are ready to die, come on." The face of the Enderman suddenly became ferocious, and the Ganon pollution on his chest began to twist and move rapidly, and his body suddenly curled up into a ball. A large amount of Ganon pollution in his body burst out from the gaps in his muscles. Ganon pollution was released into the air, like a group of bats gathering together. Behind the messenger of the end, the Ganon pollution formed 4 thin and ferocious wings like spider legs and bat wings. On each joint, there was a white devil face. On the edge of the wings, there were bone spurs with sharp light. The wings of the end stretched out in the air. Buzz buzz buzz. A ghost cry sounded around. The body of the messenger of the end was also covered with a large amount of Ganon pollution. The original human form disappeared and turned into a ferocious evil ghost. Accept the judgment. The messenger of the end rushed over like a raging sea, carrying a large amount of Ganon pollution and releasing it, hanging a black whirlwind behind him. His huge body was like a tsunami, and the messenger of the end was like a poisonous spider hunting prey. The wings folded, and the sharp bone spurs pierced Link. At the edge of the universe shrouded in darkness, many red lightning flashed inexplicably. The air was filled with the smell of burning. This was a unique space formed by the Ender and the Ganon pollution. If Link lost, the whole world would become a terrifying hell. In Link's ears, he could even hear the Ganon pollution, infiltrating various strange cries inside the space. These were not real, nor were they haunted by ghosts, but the materialized malice from the Ender's heart. Link's eyebrows stood up, his eyes were sharp. He rushed forward quickly, his wings tightened, and he accelerated suddenly. The Master Sword in his hand drew a long sword energy, and he rushed forward like lightning. Bang! The two forces of light and darkness collided in the air. The edge of the universe was trembling. The two forces of light and darkness they spread were fighting each other desperately in the air like water and fire. With a flash of light, the two bodies crossed each other. They turned around at the same time. Link's Master Sword was stained with black Ganon pollution, and the sword body was also infiltrated with black curse power. The Master Sword flashed with light, and the Ganon pollution was immediately removed. Link frowned, a little shocked. The end of the world can actually pollute the Master Sword? Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 557. Two strong opponents confront each other. Zelda, Midona and others felt the violent fluctuations after the collision of two equally powerful forces. Zelda stretched out her hands and gently shattered the impact in front of her. Midona also felt the strong fluctuations, and her face turned pale. What a terrifying power. Link is fighting against a monster. The Ender sneered. You are just a mortal. In fact, you are just a mortal, even if you have obtained the power of the goddess. Blood flowed from Link's knuckles, and slid onto the blade. The trembling sound from Faye's Master Sword became even louder. The blood of the warrior will make the Exorcist sword sharper. Link replied coldly, then you try it. Zelda held her hands in front of her chest, and the light spots on her body swept to Link's side like fireflies. Link immediately felt that the impact in his body was relieved. This was a battle in the domain of the Ender, and the aura of the end was all around. Link was very passive on the field. Zelda gathered her light power to Link, isolating the crazy power of the end around him. Zelda's attitude was clear. She would do her best to let Link fight without any scruples. She would become Link's first line of defense. The breath in the body of the Ender was becoming more and more suppressed. The Ganon pollution on his chest was like dense maggots wriggling, as if it had come alive. Wisps of black air surrounded the body of the Ender. The momentum of the Ender continued to rise wildly. He roared. The sound waves hit the outer space that had not yet been affected by the breath of the end. Just a roar actually caused a meteor to pass by and exploded into pieces. And the fragments of the meteor were swallowed by the power of the end and completely turned into nothing. Link was also suppressed by the strong breath and was a little breathless, but the light of the sacred triangle on his chest became more brilliant. Link shook the sword, flapped his wings fiercely, and his body stabbed towards the Ender like lightning. Bang, 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 bang. The Ender and Link collided again. Both sides were each other's most serious enemies. There was no room for maneuver, except to kill each other. Each used his special moves. Black flames emerged from the Ender's body, burning the sword energy that Link stabbed. The attacks were one level stronger than the other, like a tsunami of destruction, enough to kill all the warriors who were not prepared in the raging waves. His attacks were so swift that even the Ancient One on Earth could feel the terrible fluctuations from the end of the universe. Link was also fearless, holding the Hylia crystal shield in his left hand and the Master Sword in his right hand. He was still the brave boy who marched forward 100 years ago. Facing the enemy who was suppressed to the point of suffocation, he did not hesitate to meet him with a sword. The surroundings were pitch black, and the light on Link's body was as bright and dazzling as a sun hanging on the edge of the universe, igniting the surrounding darkness. The sword light flashed out, like a meteor coming out of the sky. Compared to the power of the end, that seemed to be able to devour everything, Link's sword was like the first ray of light that bloomed in the universe. The battlefield where Link was fighting was an almost endless dark area. The light on him was only a little bit, like a drop of water in the desert. But the power of the Holy Triangle burst out from his heart and filled his whole body. The light power on Link was pure, and he was evenly matched with the strange darkness around him and the end. Zelda prayed silently, and her light power continued to supply Link. Every time the end attacked, Zelda used her purest light power to dissolve the impact of its dark breath. Then Link broke it again. Therefore, it was not Link who was fighting the end at this time. Zelda was also fighting side by side with him. The end and Link were evenly matched. Link's sword skills and fearless eyes impressed the end. The two sides fought fiercely, and the power of light and darkness collided, bursting out the most essential basic particles. If this battle was moved to the Milky Way, who knows how many intelligent planets would suffer a fatal blow. Snap. Link waved his hand and threw a shield counter. A soaring white wing appeared on the blade of the Master Sword. This was a condensation of high concentration light power, which was extremely lethal to dark life. The blade stabbed forward. The white wing flew out. Bang. It hit the head of the Ender. The Ender's body was stiff and his face was hit hard. Link's killing move came again, and the Ender had to evacuate quickly to dodge the combo. Midona waved her little fist. Good. Link, keep the advantage. Pepper was also in Zelda's arms, opening his mouth wide, staring at the boss with his bean eyes. Just now, Link and the Ender had a fight, not to mention the dazzling scene, one black and one white, colliding with each other. The impact brought by the collision of light and darkness was unprecedented. Pepper was stunned. Oh. So awesome. Come on, brave hero. But Nori and Zelda didn't look happy at all, because they saw clearly that the aura of the Ender was still rising. Before, Link could fight the Ender to a draw with the power of the Holy Triangle. But at this moment, the aura of the Ender had far surpassed Link. The injury just now was just a minor injury. And Link, in that fierce fight, had already shrugged his shoulders and began to have obvious panting sounds. Link's burden was too heavy. How dare you? The Ender gritted his teeth and said, his voice distorted, sounding like an ominous wind coming from hell. He shouted loudly, and the 8 wings of the End behind him tore apart from his back and floated around him, with uneasy red lightning surging on them. Zelda could feel that there was an extremely terrifying power of the End condensed in it. Bang! The wings of the End flew in the air and positioned themselves, stabbing at a high speed. The thick black gas behind it condensed into a human shape. The black gas turned into 8 evil spirits, holding the wings of the End, and fiercely stabbed at Link. Link did not hesitate, and directly took out the thunder bow in the weapon space, bent the bow, and put arrows on it, and 8 arrows shot out. 8 rays of light rushed away, and most of the light power condensed in Link's body, and the power of the Holy Triangle was in it, directly igniting the surrounding black space. Bang! The arrows and the wings of the End slammed together. In the empty air, there was an explosion, and energy shot randomly. One of the energies flew far out of the black space and directly hit a civilized planet. The curse breath remaining in the energy caused the lives on that civilized planet to die madly. Chapter 558, Infinite Gauntlet vs. the End. Mobilizing his fighting power to counter the power of the wings of the End, Link was instantly shot out by arrows. In the thick smoke as big as a mushroom cloud, the Ender approached like a ghost. The red light in his hand condensed, and a magic sword familiar to Link appeared in the hands of the Ender. A dark red light condensed in the air, and soon formed a terrifying big sword with bared fangs and claws. Gerasim. How is it possible? Question mark? Wasn't the magic sword Gerasim destroyed? Link was shocked. The Ender laughed wildly, and swung it away. The Ender shouted loudly, you destroyed my magic sword once. But as long as my power does not dissipate, Gerasim will never die. The magic sword Gerasim and Link's master sword collided with each other, and under the blessing of the magic sword, the power of the Ender increased dramatically. The terrible sword intent from the master sword immediately hit Link's chest from his wrist, and Link vomited blood on the spot. Gerasim's sword was aimed at Link's heart, but at this moment, the power of the Holy Triangle was also injected into his heart, protecting Link well. Without the help of the Holy Triangle, Link's heart would have stopped beating on the spot. Then the Ender swung his sword again, and Zelda knew that she couldn't just sit there and wait for death. So the bow of light appeared in her hand, and a bright arrow of light flew out in an instant. Boom. The Ender chopped down vertically, cutting the bow of light in two. But Gerasim's sword energy formed a large number of dark red ghosts in the air, opening their mouths to swallow Link, who wanted to distance himself from the ender, and pressing towards him like a swamp. Link gritted his teeth, but the triangle of wisdom came, and tried his best to mobilize. The light scale spear appeared in his hand, the tip of the spear randomly pointed, and the spear light spread like fireworks, detonating all the ghosts around. And he quickly evacuated, and returned to Zelda's side. Midona hurriedly climbed onto Link's shoulder and said anxiously, "Are you okay? Your breathing is so strange." Link shook his head, and clenched the light scale spear. Since the 4 heroes were all on Earth, organizing the 4 sacred beasts, they handed all the hero weapons to Link. It was convenient for Link to fight on multiple levels. Link gave Zelda a look, swallowed the blood in his throat, and flew away with wings again. Then the light scale spear switched to the rock crushing sword. Link turned over and swung the rock crushing sword in a semicircle in the air. It smashed hard into the head of the ender. The ender said disdainfully, "Another head-on confrontation? Are you panicking?" Bang! The rock crushing sword and Gerasim collided. Link gritted his teeth and mustered all his strength to fight against the power of the end. At this time, Zelda also approached quickly. The safe in his hand opened, and 5 colorful gems flew out of it. Midona also threw the reality gem in her hand. The safe quickly folded in the air and turned into a silver infinity gauntlet. Link freed one hand and immediately inserted his fingers into the silver infinity gauntlet. The 6 infinity stones immediately flew into the 6 grooves in the silver infinity gauntlet. Boom. Link gritted his teeth and punched, stimulating the power of the 6 infinity stones, which merged into a colorful light and shot towards the ender. As soon as Link put on the infinity gauntlet, he used all his power, which scared Vision, and he hurriedly said in the Mind Stone, Link, your body." Before she finished speaking, a blood mark was left at the corner of Link's mouth, and half of his body began to tremble. The mobilization of all 6 infinity stones brought a lot of pressure to Link, but now he couldn't care so much. He had to use all his strength. The ender also shouted, "Do you think that you can defeat us with just this power to the world?" He held the sword in both hands, like a charging soldier, and Gerasim stabbed with a sword. Boom boom boom. Link was shocked. A gauntlet with 6 infinity stones could only tie with the big one of the end. The infinity gauntlet's lasers and Gerasim bombarded. 2 completely different forces entangled in the air. One was a colorful light, and the other was a dark red-black sword. The 2 gritted their teeth and stalemate. Neither of them was willing to take a step back. Navi worriedly said, "If this goes on, Link will suffer a lot." Zelda's eyes turned, and she immediately summoned the magic sword she had purified, which had been named the Weapon of the Sword of Redemption. The Sword of Redemption was thrown by Zelda, and flew to the ground. It hit Gerasim. Crack. The Sword of Redemption shattered. The dark red light of Gerasim also began to flicker. Zelda was not surprised but happy, and shouted, "Link. Now." Link knew that the opportunity should not be missed. He increased his strength again, risking his body being attacked by the infinity gauntlet. The colorful light directly pierced the Gerasim that the ender summoned again. Boom. And it pierced through the body of the ender. The expression of the ender became very dull. Link also hurriedly took off the infinity gauntlet, and his light was aimed at the heart of the ender. The more you anger me, the more you will regret it." Link thought he had caused a fatal injury to the ender. But something strange happened. There was a big hole in the chest of the ender, but he could still speak, and his tone was even very calm. The ender looked at Link coldly. "You drag me into a deeper abyss, you will regret it." A large amount of cannon pollution gushed out from the gap in his chest. The ender looked at Link coldly. "You are very brave, but it is useless. Under your attack, the power of Ganon and I have completely merged." Link felt something was wrong, and was about to open up space with the ender again, but the ender suddenly approached, even without Link noticing. Space Gem. Link wanted to use the Space Gem to create a shield for himself, but the shield was easily pierced by the ender. The power of the Infinity Gem does not work on the ender. Link was hit by a punch from the ender, and his face turned pale. The ender roared, "Accept punishment forever in the abyss." Midona and others shouted in horror, "No." Just when the ender was about to inject the final destructive power into Link and kill Link cleanly, on Earth, Tony shouted, "Jarvis, start." Link's wings. Go. Go protect Link. He slammed his fist on the table fiercely. He roared at the sky. Link. You must win. Swish. The power of the four beasts was activated, and light gathered above the Avengers base. All over the Western Hemisphere, with New York as a center, strangely burst out with strong light in the land, shining into the sky. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 559 The Power of the Four Sacred Beasts. The ground around the Avengers began to shake. Scarlet Witch was so restless, because she was worried about Vision, that she almost fell down accidentally. She looked up at the ceiling, which was not bright or dark, and said in horror, "What's going on? Is it an earthquake? I remember that the base can withstand earthquakes of magnitude 5.0. Banner smiled and said, "No, the entire Western Hemisphere is shaking, but we are the center of the shaking and the most serious." Tony raised his chin. "We will use the power of the four beasts to travel to Link at superluminal speed to help Link seal the Ender. This requires strong enough power. Like last time, using all the electricity in the United States is not enough to maintain the operation of this Link's wing." Banner didn't keep it a secret and said directly, "So we directly use the energy inside the earth." Natasha was shocked. "You are really crazy. Using the internal energy of the earth so recklessly may cause very serious consequences." Tony shook his head decisively and said, "Who cares? At this juncture, we must do everything we can to help him until he defeats the Ender." Banner said with a sigh, "This is a very large device. Link's wings has millions of energy receivers, deeply inserted into the mantle, absorbing the energy from the Earth's interior. If the main part of Link's wings is placed in the sky, then even if you are on the moon, you can clearly see this behemoth." The power of the four beasts, amplified by Link's wings, directly turned into a beam of light with a diameter of 1000 meters and shot towards the edge of the universe. The surrounding planets and galaxies were pierced by the power of the four beasts and turned into nothingness. Nothing can resist the momentum of the power of the four beasts to the end of the universe. The power of the four beasts traveled through the air, and the diameter continued to decrease, and finally turned into a beam of light less than a centimeter. At the moment, when Link was almost crushed to death by the end, the light bombarded. The power of the four beasts locked the end tightly. This power even made him feel extremely terrified. At the same time, the evil heart of the Ender rose. He stared at Link and said coldly, "The Earthlings can actually launch such an attack. It's amazing. Then let their warriors bear this fatal blow." Link was shocked. He tried hard to break free, but his body was already covered by the power of the End. Whether it was the space gem, time stop or bullet time, he could not escape. A burst of black light burst out from the hands of the Ender. Zelda's light power on Link was instantly penetrated. The power of the End penetrated into Link's body, making Link unable to move. The Ender immediately blocked Link in front of him. Link was shocked. The Ender wanted to use Link as a shield to resist the power of the four beasts. Zelda lost her voice. "No," only to see her body turned into a burst of light, blocking Link. The Ender looked at the power of the four beasts bombarding and laughed. "Go to hell. Go and kill each other." The power of the four beasts came crashing down unstoppably, first penetrating Zelda's light, and then hitting Link's chest. The Ender grinned and said, "This is the best possible ending." The Ender looked at the frightening light as it hit Link's body. The smile on his face became more sinister. "This is the fate of this world." But before the Ender could finish his words, the power of the four beasts penetrated Link's body, turned a corner, and shone on his chest, causing the Ender's chest to boil. The Ender felt a piercing pain coming from his chest, but what frightened him more than the pain was that his power of the End began to dissipate under the power of the four beasts. Then, the Ender saw in horror that Link actually turned around. Behind him was Zelda's recondensed body. Zelda's light poured into Link's Hylia shield. The crystal shield released a brilliant light. Link shouted loudly and used a holy impact to hit the head of the Ender. Under the double attack of Link and the power of the four beasts, the body of the Ender was directly blown apart. The fragments flew around, and only the upper half of his body was barely able to maintain its original shape. The head of the Ender was also half gone, but his life was obviously many times stronger than that of a cockroach. So he was still alive. The Ender looked at Link with a look of shock and anger, and there was a trembling feeling in his voice. He roared, "Why? You can be unscathed under such a powerful force. Why can't the power of the four beasts hurt you? The light of the four beasts recondensed around Link, and the scattered light spots directly made the edge of this dark universe bright again. The power of the end in this space was rapidly collapsing. The light poured into Link's body, and four heroes suddenly appeared beside him: Darkle, Zappo, Mipha, and Libel. They surrounded Link, and looked directly at the Ender together. Libel held his wings to his chest and said coldly, "We are controlling the power of the four sacred beasts. How could we hurt our friends?" And Zappo also said, "Ugly guy. The four sacred beasts have now broken free from Ganon's control. They will no longer hurt kind people." Darkle laughed, "The power of my partners will never become a tool for you to do evil. Even if the light of the four sacred beasts is shooting in the opposite direction of you, they will make a big turn and attack you. The enemy is the enemy." Mipha said softly, "Our power will never harm Link and Princess Zelda." The End gritted his teeth. Damn it, damn it, damn it, you will all be judged." Zappo looked at Link. "Come on. With the help of our power, completely destroy this weird and ugly guy." Link nodded. He held the Master Sword with both hands, and saw light pouring into it. The power of the four sacred beasts was all gathered in the Master Sword. If it was before, the Master Sword would definitely not be able to bear such a powerful force, but after the transformation, the Master Sword is much stronger and more powerful than before. In the previous battle, Link was deeply impressed by the Master Sword's powerful transformation. At this time, the Master Sword's light became sharper because of the influx of new power. The sound of the sword almost resounded throughout the universe. The sword energy was surging at the edge of the universe. Chapter 560 Gathering. With the power of the four beasts, Link held the Master Sword in his hand. He could feel from the sword body that he was holding a thunderstorm. He slashed with the sword, and the power of light burst out instantly. Link's figure was so bright that it lost its outline. Bang! Link slashed the body of the Ender with a sword, and the violent power swept into the body of the Ender. The power of light and the power of the four beasts continued to destroy the power of the Ender in the body of the Ender. Soon, the power of the Ender had collapsed, leaving only the dark heart of the Ender. Inside the heart of the Ender was the energy core of the Ender, the darkest soul hiding place. The power of the four beasts rushed into it unstoppably. The energy core shook rapidly and cracks appeared. The Ender screamed madly, but for some reason, the voice of the Ender seemed to be made by two people, and the other voice became more and more obvious. Sure enough, this was Ganon's voice. Ganon was not dead yet. The Ender said angrily, "Ganon, you are still alive. As expected, I had a hunch that you are still hiding inside my body. Now is the time to use you." Ganon's curse power burst out, and the Ender shouted angrily, "Link, Zelda, Goddess Hylia, and this world. I curse you. The darkness of darkness, the doomsday of doomsday, everything that makes the world silent, will bloom in my hands." Zelda's light hurriedly said to Link, "The Ender has integrated Ganon's power, and now he is transforming his power in the direction of Ganon's cursed power. The two ultimate evil powers have merged into one." The four heroes also hurriedly said, "Link, the power of the Ender is constantly getting stronger." Bang! The Ender shouted. Link was immediately pushed away by a powerful force, and the power of the four beasts also popped out from the Master Sword. Ugh! Link spat out a mouthful of blood, and his hands trembled. The space around him, which had been relit by the power of the four beasts, fell into darkness again. The body of the Ender quickly bulged and combined together. It formed an even uglier and more hideous body. His terrifying aura, that combined the two extreme powers of curse and end, directly caused the already dark edge of the universe to fall into a deeper darkness again. And it spread toward the outer universe, from a corner of the universe, like the most virulent virus, quickly infecting the entire world. Ancient One's heart moved, and her face became alert. Something is wrong. The aura of the Ender has mutated. The black flames condensed in the hands of the Ender again, and then ignited the whole body. The cursed flames burned and spread, turning the surroundings into a dark sea of fire. A pillar of fire pierced Link. Link clenched his fist, and the power of the Infinity Stone gathered on the back of his hand. Bang! Link dispersed a pillar of fire, but more pillars of fire came from all directions. Link raised his fist high, and the power of the Infinity Stone was completely radiated, spreading around, competing with the surrounding black flames that could burn almost everything. "Link, is this all you can do?" The Ender laughed grimly. His voice became even more ferocious. After transforming his own strength into the power of curse, his body was also changing. The flames on his body became thicker and thicker, and the Ender let himself burn completely. At this time, Link desperately fought against the flames that kept coming from all directions. As a high-intensity user of the Infinity Gauntlet, he was already exhausted. Even his skin was seeping out a lot of blood. The light of the four heroes surrounded Link, and they hurriedly said, "Link, run. Your body is no longer suitable for fighting." Link shook his head, and he looked at the Ender whose flames were becoming more and more vigorous. At this time, how can you escape? Zelda had not left Link's Hylia shield, and she also felt that Link's body was in a very bad state. Surrounded by a large amount of mutated curse air, Link's body was destroyed, and inside, he was burdened by the power of the Infinity Gauntlet and the four beasts. Link was under severe double oppression. His body was already on the verge of collapse. Even Link's soul began to waver. But at such a dangerous moment, Zelda did not say anything to make Link retreat, but whispered, "Link, do what you want to do. I believe your choice is right. Even if it means death, I will follow you. You will not be alone." Link gritted his teeth and nodded. He would strangle the Ender here at all costs. Just when Link was on the verge of hardship, a dragon roar came from the sky. No, not one but three. From a distance, 3 giant dragons flew quickly, roaring and rushing towards the Ender. They were red, blue, and yellow 3-headed flying dragons. They rotated together, like a shuttle, and rushed over. It was the Nile Dragon, the Pharaoh Dragon, and Link's beloved Fangire Dragon. Midona was surprised and said, "It's reinforcement." But Nornie was still very worried. No, the 3-headed dragons, they are not good at fighting, and their help to Link is very limited. The dragons came flying, they sprayed dragon breath, and the 3-color dragon breath directly dissipated the dark fire pillars around Link. Relieved Link's dilemma. All roared at Link. Her meaning was very clear, that is, the cursed breath and the power of the end that hindered Link's actions should be purified by them, and Link only needed to fight the power of the end. Link nodded. He mustered up his last strength and rushed towards the Ender at a high speed. Surrounded by 3 giant dragons, they blocked the dark fire pillars that swept in. The power of the 4 beasts was condensed here. The Ender laughed wildly and said, "Are you still unwilling? Then let you lose more thoroughly." The power of the Ender also rushed like a stormy wave. The power of the 4 beasts and the power of the End collided again. Link held the Master Sword in one hand and the Infinity Gauntlet in the other. The Infinity Gauntlet also released light, and Link held the sword with both hands. The power of the Infinity Stones poured into the Master Sword, and together with the power of the 4 beasts, bombarded the Ender. Link's body was increasingly unable to bear it, and the moment he swung the sword, his body began to collapse. But at this moment, Zelda appeared behind his body, and Zelda gently embraced Link. Zelda's light enveloped Link's body. "Go and fight. I'm your shield." Chapter 561. The crusade against the End was successful. Zelda's body, like a dandelion blown by the wind, radiated a little light, covering Link's body. The power of light penetrated into Link's body. Because of the power of the Infinity Stones and the 4 divine beasts, Link was already on the verge of collapse. If it weren't for his superhuman willpower to forcibly support him, his body, along with the power of the 4 divine beasts and the 6 Infinity Stones, would have long since disintegrated and ejected into every corner of the universe. When Zelda's light power, which was the same source as Link's, poured into it, and attached to Link's heart, and every bone in his body, it merged with Link's own power, and the light power densely spread into a net, stabilizing Link's body. Zelda stabilized Link's body, and the 3 external dragons isolated the surrounding power of the End. With the help of everyone, Link could finally swing his full force. Cluster. On the sword tip, under the guidance of the Master Sword, the power of the 4 divine beasts merged into a white-hot sword light. The power of the 6 Infinity Stones spun around the incandescent sword like a tornado. The Ender also roared, and the black flames on his body almost burned him to ashes. The dirty black cursed flames even made the surrounding space unable to maintain, and it collapsed one after another, falling into an irrecoverable chaos. The incandescent sword and the black flames of the Ender collided. Boom. Invisible waves rippled. In every corner of the Marvel universe, the sound of swords clashing could be heard. People on Earth looked at the sky anxiously. Even far away on Earth, they were affected by the confrontation between Link and the Ender. Above the Earth, the remaining Ganon power was aroused and swept up to the sky, causing the blue sky to be quickly covered by dark clouds. A large number of Ganon minions, skeletons, and centaurs were born. The Red Moon was suddenly born again. The Avengers and others did not care to continue waiting for Link, but went out to protect ordinary people and fight. But this time in the Red Moon, the monsters bred by Ganon were very unlucky, because a large number of mutants have awakened on Earth. When the mutants with special abilities saw the inexplicable skeletons and monsters appearing on the streets to destroy them, they immediately showed their superpowers without hiding their identities, fighting against the Ganon monsters. Because they are fighting against the ominous dark power, mutants and ordinary people unite to fight. At the end of the universe, Link and the end of the world have a final confrontation. Both sides are going all out, and dare not hold back. The energy of the two is rapidly depleted. The roar of the end of the world is getting more and more ferocious. This world cannot escape his fate. The black flames pressed towards Link. Link struggled to hold on. Nor he panicked. The end of the world is still pushing his body into a darker situation. He is constantly demonizing himself. If he keeps on consuming, Link will not be able to hold on. The end of the world grinned and said, "Is this all your strength? But it's just that. You." Just when Link was about to give up, Link suddenly shouted, "Ganon, are you going to sit back and watch yourself being completely drained by the Ender and reduced to an empty shell?" The Ender's face changed, and in his chest, he remembered Ganon's roar. A trace of fear appeared on the face of the Ender. "Ganon, behave yourself. Our goals are the same, both to plunge this world into darkness. You obey my orders." Link shouted, "Ganon, do you want to be a slave?" The Ender was furious and shouted, "Link, shut up." But then the face of the Ender changed wildly, and he was horrified to find that the power of Ganon's curse in his body began to become violent. It began to be out of the control of the Ender. The black flames suddenly became chaotic. Now, Link's eyes burst into a dazzling light, and the complete version of the sacred triangle power on his chest, the triangle of wisdom, the triangle of courage, and the triangle of strength all rotated rapidly, and a large amount of sacred power was stimulated. Behind Link, the wings spread out, and the goddess Hylia floated out. Crack. Earth Sky King City. The crystal Hylia statue shattered into powder. "My child, go." Link nodded, shouting and pouring the fully activated Holy Triforce into the Master Sword. Bang. The sword light bombarded the body of the Ender. The Ender was terrified. "No, don't. My era." The power of light completely destroyed the soul of the Ender. Suddenly, the surroundings were dazzling, because the power of the End collapsed one after another after the disintegration of the Ender. The end of the universe has returned to normal again. So cruel. This was the last voice of the Ender, and in his broken body, an ominous black gas surged out. It was Ganon who escaped from the body of the Ender. How could Link sit and watch Ganon leave? Although his body was exhausted, he still used his last strength to throw the Master Sword directly. Navi hurriedly flew over. "I'll help you." She hurriedly locked Ganon's soul. Ah! The Master Sword pierced Ganon's soul. A hateful sharp roar came out of it. The black air broke apart, revealing a nihilistic figure. Ganon's soul was shattered by the restraining power of the Master Sword, but he injected his last remaining soul into his own will. The curse of Ganon on Earth was suddenly emptied. It returned to Ganon's remaining soul. Libba hurriedly flew out of the Master Sword, transformed into a human form, and shot an arrow with the Great Eagle Bow. He intended to completely destroy Ganon. But Ganon turned around, sneered, and got in beside him, because the Ender had shattered the chaotic space and fled away. "Damn it!" Libba shouted. His arrow shattered immediately, after piercing into the chaotic space. Libba blamed himself a little, but he suddenly felt that Link's breath was gradually fading behind him. He turned around hurriedly, and even Link fainted in the universe with his eyes closed. But his chest rose and fell sharply. The other three heroes appeared one after another, and Zelda transformed from a light spot into a human form again, hugging Link. Mipha hurriedly used the power of protection to help Link repair his body. But Zelda said, "Link is fine, he is just too tired." The Infinity Gauntlet in Link's hand suddenly trembled twice, and broke with a snap. In this unprecedented battle, even the Infinity Gauntlet could not withstand the rupture, let alone the pressure Link himself carried. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 562, The Ascension and End of Goddess Hylia. 3 dragons also hovered in the sky. It's weird to use the word high altitude in the universe. They looked at the unconscious Link with concern. Orlone let out a low cry and soon turned into a little dragon, flying obediently to Link's side, with its small paws resting on Link's chest, its big red eyes looking at Link's chin. Just like a puppy waiting for its owner to wake up. Midona whispered to comfort him. Yeah, it's okay. Link is just tired. He will wake up soon. Yeah, responded to Midona with a listless cry. It would be difficult for her to cheer him up if Link didn't wake up. Zelda looked back at the universe that had regained its brilliance and whispered, the battle is finally over. This is the edge of the universe, with few stars, and the light that can reach here is very weak. It's already very dark here, and even without the power of the end, it's still very dim. But compared to the dead silence and oppressive atmosphere before, it's much better. Libba sighed, it's a pity that Ganon still escaped. If only my arrow could be faster. Zappo said, it's okay. Life cannot survive in the chaotic space. Ganon's residual soul ran into the chaotic space, which is no different from suicide. Mipha shook her head. No, Ganon is different from other lives. He won't die so easily. Zelda smiled and said, it's okay. Anyway, we have severely damaged Ganon. We have plenty of time to hunt down Ganon. Now let's go back to Earth. Everyone should be waiting anxiously. Vision took the space gem and whispered, then let's go. Vision took the space gem and drew a square in the air. The space in the square quickly broke, revealing a blue glowing edge with mist inside. Everyone walked in and arrived at the Avengers base on Earth in a blink of an eye. Tony and others also came back. Everyone had just finished a short fierce battle and everyone was out of breath. When they came back, they found Darkle holding Link. Link's face was pale and his eyes were closed. They were all startled. Link. They hurriedly gathered around. Vision hurriedly said, Link is fine. He is just seriously exhausted. And Thor said worriedly, Zelda, it's bad. The statue of Goddess Hylia suddenly exploded. Everyone was worried. The statue of Goddess Hylia was what Link had saved with his life, but now it has turned into pieces. Does this mean that Goddess Hylia is dead? But Zelda shook her head naturally. It's okay. Because the Ender was defeated, the power of Goddess Hylia has been restored to a certain extent. The goddess is spreading her sacred power throughout the world to restore the space that was damaged and polluted by Ganon and the Ender to its original state. Thor breathed a sigh of relief and lowered his shoulders. Great, the goddess is fine. At this time, the figure of Goddess Hylia suddenly floated out of Link's body. The goddess appeared to be praying. Her wings were broken, and there were broken wings and blood behind her, but this gave her a stronger sense of sacredness. Thor held his head and cried. The goddess appeared. It must be the effect of my prayer. Rogers and others quickly shook their heads. No, the goddess obviously appeared because of Link. This time, the goddess Hylia did not look at Link, but smiled at everyone in a very human way, and finally stopped her eyes on Zelda. Everyone, thank you very much for your contribution to Link's defeat at the end. Tony hurriedly said, no thanks. Anyway, if we don't defeat the end, we won't survive. Goddess Hylia whispered, the light will be fond of those who are devoted to the light. I wish you all the best, and may the light protect you. As soon as Goddess Hylia finished speaking, a golden light appeared on the chest of the Avengers, the size of a gold coin. Tony and others did not feel it obviously, but Thor and Loki could feel that the vitality in their bodies had greatly increased. Everyone hurriedly thanked Goddess Hylia. Quicksilver whispered, my god, is this the power of the goddess to restore? Then, the eyes of the goddess Hylia shifted to Link. She stretched out her hands and gently stroked Link's cheek. She murmured, child, victory is in your heart, and you have come to this point with victory in your heart. Thank you for your efforts. The light of the goddess quickly dimmed, and finally turned into a beam of light, which penetrated into Link's chest. Woo! Darkle screamed in fear. Link's body floated up from his palm, surrounded by the sound of birds singing, the sound of streams flowing, the sound of trees swaying in the wind, and various natural sounds resounding around Link's body. It was as if there was a whole dreamlike forest hidden in his body. Finally, the sound stopped abruptly. A necklace appeared on Link's neck, light silver, and the pendant was a triangular colorful crystal. The Avengers base is now dark, so the colorful crystal emits a faint light. The goddess Hylia disappeared completely. Thor asked hurriedly, "Where is the goddess? What happened to her? My alarm clock can't even sense her voice." Zelda smiled and said, "Goddess Hylia has recovered part of her power, and no longer needs a physical body, so she disappeared. Because the real gods have no form, no emotions, and no personality." Although Zelda was happy for the goddess, she was also a little regretful, because the goddess who could talk to her and Link no longer existed. The previous goddess Hylia, with a gentle and feminine appearance, was actually a symbol of her weakness. And now goddess Hylia has recovered part of her power. The personalized side is no longer willing to exist. There is an absolute difference between gods and human nature. Midona looked at the sacred triangular pendant on Link's chest. "What kind of treasure is this? I feel like there seems to be a heart beating inside it." Zelda nodded. "This should be the gift from the goddess to Link. Only Link knows the true function of this gem." The Marvel Universe finally fell into a long-term peace. At this time, Wakanda announced that it would no longer close the country, and began to enter into extensive exchanges with various countries. In the last wave of monsters caused by Ganon, mutants and ordinary people fought hand in hand, which also made the two races meet, and eliminated many conflicts. The Earth should maintain peace for a long time. A few days later, Link heard a mechanical mumbling command in his heart, and then woke up. New mission, go to the new world, find and eradicate the remnants of Ganon. Link blinked hazily. This reminded him of the time when the Earth's Hylia goddess pretended to be the system to communicate with him when he first crossed over to the Marvel world. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 563 Ultraman World and Avengers Chat Group. Link woke up in a daze. When he went out, he saw a bright starry sky. It was already night. Zelda sensed that Link's mental activity had suddenly become rich, and she knew that Link had woken up. She hurried over with Mipha, and saw Link stretching and grimacing. Because his muscles were very stiff, it hurt when he moved. Zelda and Mipha smiled and helped Link sit down again. Mipha said softly, "I will use the power of protection to help you relieve muscle fatigue. It won't hurt." Then Mipha's two red hands were placed on Link's soft head and hair, and light blow light splashed down. Link only felt that he was walking on a road that was irrigated with lawns, and his whole body was cool. Zelda smiled and said, "If others had experienced this battle, even if they didn't die of exhaustion, they would have to lie like a corpse for 2 or 3 years. It's worthy of our Link." He recovered in less than a day. Navi, Midona, Yaya, and Peppa were dozing at the head of Link's bed. When Link was woken up by Zelda and Mipha, they all rushed over to him, asking if Link was okay and how he was feeling. They made Link's last bit of sleepiness disappear. Link was puzzled by the triangular pendant on his chest. Zelda explained softly, "Goddess Hylia has now broken free from the shackles of the crystal statue and has regained some strength. This is a treasure she gave you. Can I give this triangular pendant a name? Let's call it the Hylia certificate." Link nodded, and he recalled the mechanical command voiced in his dream. Goddess Hylia told him that he was going to a new world again. Zelda said, "I heard this voice too. After all, Ganon's remaining soul has escaped from the Marvel world, and our adventure is not over yet." Link was puzzled by the fact that Goddess Hylia pretended to be a system again, and used a mechanical voice to share his confusion. But Zelda's face darkened, and she explained, "Goddess Hylia has recovered some of her essence, so human touch is even weaker than before. Goddess Hylia will only become more and more indifferent. Gods and humans are different after all." At this time, Tony and others also broke in, led by the noisy Thor. Mipha couldn't help but smile and said, "It seems that gods are also different." Everyone crowded into Link's bedroom and gathered together. A grand banquet was held in the Avengers base. It was used to celebrate peace and victory, but the peaceful time is always short. A month later, Link and Zelda were ready to go to the new world. Thor was crying and snotting. "I will miss you. Thank you, Princess Zelda, for giving us such a large sky royal city to live in, and it's free." Rogers also hugged Peppa, who cried and wiped his green snot on Rogers. Rogers forced a smile and said, "Why are you crying? Warriors shouldn't be so weak. Be strong." Zelda also turned into a wilderness princess and came to Banner. Banner smiled gently, although we are not formally mentor-student relationships. But it is my honor to teach you a little bit. Tony hurriedly put his hands on his head and made a quiet gesture. He hurriedly said, wait. Link and the others are not going to return forever. Is this appropriate for you?" Hawkeye folded his arms and said coldly, "Atmosphere. Pay attention to the atmosphere." Tony retorted, "You are the least attentive to the atmosphere, okay?" Tony asked Quicksilver and Spider-Man to bring 2 banana phones and put them in the hands of Zelda and Link. Tony said, "This phone is special. It can make calls in different dimensions. I squeezed the surplus value of those galactic scientists who have not left yet and transformed them. Even if you are in the new world, we can keep in touch." Zelda opened her phone and saw an Avengers conference room on the screen. Clicking it, it was a social software. There were also selfies of Tony and Peppa showing their love. There were also Thor and Roger's conceited fitness photos. For some reason, Professor X was also among them. He also sent a serious message for help. "How can I treat severe hair loss?" Link and Zelda smiled. The Avengers smiled and picked up their specially made banana phones. Tony said, "If you have any questions, you can contact us. We Avengers are your shield." The camera function of this phone is very powerful. If you encounter strange things, let us see them. Zelda smiled and said, "Okay." She loves taking pictures. In the Avengers Hall, the 5 gems, except the Mind Gem, floated in the air, forming a wide regular pentagon, with a strange light effect like a paint bucket. This is the portal created by Zelda using the Infinity Gems, connecting to the new world that Link and Zelda are about to arrive. Pym said at this time, "This crossing gate has conditions to reach other places. We are studying it. Maybe we can use this crossing gate to let you return to the Hyrule continent. Wait for our good news." Since this is the first attempt to enter it, out of caution, only Zelda and Link, the 4 heroes, Navi, Midona and other guys did not follow. Of course, the little guys were very unhappy. Link and Zelda held hands, smiled at each other, and walked into the crossing gate with some excitement. A few days later, Zelda and Link were invited to the Far East headquarters of a group called TPC, Terrestrial Peace United Organization. The base of this organization is located in the sea. Through a camera placed on the collar, the Avengers can also observe everything Link and Zelda see. Rogers, "I really like the Earth in this world. There is no fighting in various countries, and the armies of various countries have been cancelled. It is really a peaceful era." Tony, "Don't forget, the world that Link and his friends entered has vicious alien creatures and huge monsters, each of which is more fierce than Hulk. In this case, is it really good for the Earth to not have a decent armed force?" Tony's speech caused dissatisfaction among Banner and Thor. Thor, "Wait. How come aliens are vicious? I signed an agreement with the World Security Committee to protect the personal safety and rights of Asgardians on Earth. Are you just discriminating against us aliens?" Banner, "Tony, if you say that, Hulk will be angry." The Avengers chattered. "That's right. The new world that Link and Zelda came to is the world of Ultramantiga. They forged their identities and infiltrated TPC, World Peace United Organization. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works." Chapter 564 Ultraman World. Even though the Avengers were no longer around, they helped Link a lot. With Tony's help, Link and Zelda fabricated 2 legal identities for themselves in the Ultramantiga world, and no one could find any flaws. With the help of Natasha, the 2 of them successfully infiltrated the World Peace United Organization to serve. Zelda was in charge of alien biological research. Natasha made up a background story of a young genius for Zelda. This attracted an invitation from the TPC organization. When in the Marvel world, Link dared to tell others openly that he came from another world. This is because the Marvel world is highly compatible with aliens, gods, wizards, etc. coexisting. But the Ultraman world is different. If Link carelessly announced his identity, it would bring endless troubles to him and Zelda. Ultraman fights monsters, and the Earthlings scream 666 when the plane crashes. This is a stereotype. In fact, the Earth in the Ultraman world is a situation where Ultraman unites the Earthlings to fight against the cosmic people. The Earthlings in this world are very strong and have a very strong level of technology. Even Ultraman dared not reveal his human form, fearing that he would be killed by the Earthlings by accident. The Earthlings really did this. So cruel, compared to the Marvel world, where Tony Stark dared to openly admit that he was Iron Man. The Ultraman world is more harsh. So Link and Zelda chose to hide their identities. Recently, a huge monster was discovered on the Mongolian plains, causing considerable panic. TPC urgently summoned Zelda to Japan to participate in the work. At this time, the Flying Swallow team was convening an emergency meeting. The Flying Swallow team is referred to as GUTS and is an investigation team that responds to abnormal situations. The future human form of Ultraman Tiga, Zinjio Deku, is one of them. Natasha, oh. It seems that this organization has a similar role to SHIELD. Let me take a look. Hawky, disdainful, this organization is so poorly guarded that it actually allowed to boys and girls with long ears to sneak in. Obviously, it is not very good. No wonder that Ultraman Tiga is needed to protect the Earth. Zelda and Link came to the command room under the leadership of the commissioner. The captain of the Flying Swallow team was Megumi Iruma, a beautiful woman with long hair and a capable and handsome appearance. The members of the Flying Swallow team also stood up one after another. They had all received the news that a foreign genius female doctor who had a unique research on alien creatures had come here to help them solve the monster problem. Although the members of the Flying Swallow team knew that this Dr. Zelda was very young, they were still surprised when this girl who looked only 15 or 16 years old walked in accompanied by a boy of the same age. Captain Megumi Iruma was also stunned, but out of respect, she came to Zelda and greeted her with a smile. Welcome, Dr. Zelda. Digjing, the chubby-faced weapons expert opened his mouth wide. Isn't this alien creature expert too young? Link and Zelda both had a special aura, which was very eye-catching because of the rich light power. Both of them tried their best to suppress their aura, but it didn't work. Because of their rage and unique temperament, they attracted the attention of Ultraman Tiga's human form Deku. These two. His eyes moved to Link, and he couldn't help asking, who is this? Iruma Hui introduced. Everyone. These two are colleagues from outside who work with us. Welcome them. She is Dr. Zelda, who is proficient in alien creatures. This is Link, Dr. Zelda's translator. Tony, PFFT. Natasha, what are you thinking? Giving Link the identity of a translator? This guy can't say 3 words a day. Natasha, don't pay attention to these details. Link nodded, and Zelda smiled and greeted in standard Japanese. Hello. Lina, Deiko's future lover, the ace pilot of the Flying Swallow team, blinked and said, this girl is so beautiful. Wait, her Japanese is very good. Do you need a translator? Link said lightly, I'm responsible for translating the alien language. Everyone in the Flying Swallow team. Avengers meeting room. Tony, wait. What's wrong with this world? Why do they all speak Japanese? Banner, I'm also very curious. Including in our world, why do Thor and other aliens speak English? Thor, spreading his hands. You ask me, who should I ask? Rogers, I envy Zelda and Link's language ability. Tony, showing off. A piece of cake. I can also speak Hyrule language. This requires brains. At this time, the Fion team has seen the message from the ancient Earth Defense Captain Ulion from the projector in the meteorite, Galzan that shakes the earth, and Melba that tears the sky, and so on. Everyone is talking about it. The appearance of Zelda and Link interrupted their discussion. At this time, an alarm sounded in the command room. Melba also took off and flew towards the sea. Iruma Hui asked Zelda, drive Zelda, what do you know about these two monsters? Zelda blinked. Galzan can drill into the ground, and Melba can fly. The scene suddenly became awkward. Megumi Iruma hurriedly asked, what else? Zelda smiled cutely, nothing. Team Fion. Lina nudged Deiko with her elbow. Does this girl really know about alien creatures? Vice Captain Zanfang patted the two of them. Don't talk about it. This is Director Saway's personal invitation. It's absolutely reliable. Thor, bored. Where is Ultraman? Why hasn't the super powerful Ultraman Tigger that links it appeared yet? Tony, he has appeared. Thor, where? Tony, the most handsome cream boy, he is Deco, the human form of Ultraman Tigger. Thor, a breath of weakness blowing in my face. At this time, Team Nori detected the location of the hidden Ultraman pyramid. So the Fian team rushed out. The TPC base floated up from the sea and opened. A golden Fian fighter flew out. Tony, I can't help it. What is this? Are you sure this yellow plane is not a toy? Zelda quietly explained to Tony, don't be fooled by the plastic feel of the flying swallow. It's actually very technologically advanced. Tony, and the clothes these flying swallow members are wearing. I thought they were from another world shield. But they turned out to be motorcyclists from another world. Look at the clothes they are wearing. And this Lego toy base. It feels like this world is just like playing house. Rogers, why are you so anxious? But soon, when Tony and the others saw the living monsters through the collar camera, they all realized the cruelty and horror of this new world. Chapter 565 Bullying the Monster Galzen. Tony made a bitter complaint about the Ultraman Tigger world, and ended with a sentence, are you sure this world is not a joke? Although Zelda did not provide any useful information to the Flying Swallow team, the members of the Flying Swallow team were all good-natured, and did not say anything cold to Zelda. Zelda and Link sat obediently on the stools, and team member Nori brought them juice. So in the quiet command room, the sound of the boy and girl sucking juice from the tubes could be heard. Slurp slurp. Shinjo laughed dryly and whispered to Captain Iruma Hui, aren't these two junior high school students visiting us to play? Iruma Hui looked at Link and Zelda with a maternal smile on her lips and couldn't help but say, this pair of children is so cute. Nori was surprised and said, Captain? Iruma Hui came back to her senses and coughed, don't worry. There is no doubt about Dr. Zelda's level. It may be because they are young and a little nervous. Team member Nori quickly detected that Melba and Galzen were heading towards the pyramid in the Japanese mainland. He hurriedly reported to Megumi Iruma. At this time, Daegu and other members of the Flying Swallow team had already found the pyramid, where Ultraman Tigger and 2 other unnamed Ultraman statues were hidden. Daegu was in pain for some reason and hurriedly fled. The 2 monsters had already come to the vicinity of the pyramid. Bang! The earth shook. Link quickly drank the juice in one gulp and said, I'm going to the bathroom. Then he ran out. He quickly left the TPC base and spread his wings to the location of Ultraman Tigger. Things progressed quickly. Melba, who looked like a giant pterosaur bat hybrid, and Galzen, who looked like an armored dinosaur, used light to shatter the protective cover of the pyramid. 3 huge Ultraman statues were exposed. The 2 monsters immediately destroyed the 2 on the left and right and smashed them into stones. Just after pushing down the Ultraman statue in the middle, Daegu drove the Flying Swallow and rushed over with a roar. Since he was not armed, Daegu just sent out a useless flare to block Galzen's sight. But he was knocked over and crashed by his blow. Lina and other members of the Fian team shouted, Daegu. Just as Galzen was about to crush the last stone statue, a ray of light poured into the timer of the Tigger Ultraman statue. Galzen stepped down with his big foot, and the stone statue revived, crossing his arms to block. From the start of the timer, the stone statue immediately turned colorful. Tigger Ultraman has revived. The members of the Yanfei team were shocked and said, that giant has revived. Iruma Hui and others in the command room, as well as Zelda, looked at the revived Tigger Ultraman in surprise, and stood up suddenly. He turned over, and kicked Galzen down. Fighting with the 2 monsters. Boom boom boom. Through the camera on the collar, the Avengers also clearly saw Tigger Ultraman's first battle. Tony, Jarvis, analyze the strength and battle scale of this Tigger Ultraman. Tony didn't know what he was thinking, and he also pulled Jarvis into the Avengers chat group, and Vision was very happy about it. Almost at the moment, when Tony sent the message, Jarvis analyzed the data of Ultraman Tigger's battle through the video. He sent the data he obtained to the chat group densely. Tony didn't speak for a long time. Thor, sighs, this guy is so strong. So big. Natasha, Tony, why are you silent? Tony, Tigger's power is a bit beyond my expectation. It's enough to crush 10,000 Rogers to death. Rogers. Then he sent a picture of Tony's pants falling down when fighting the rock giant in the center of New York. Banner collected. The picture has been deleted by the administrator. Tony Rogers was banned for 3 days. Ultraman Tiga fought with Galzan and Melba. The earth was shaking, and he switched 3 forms in succession. He bravely suppressed the 2 monsters at the same time. Switching to the air form, Blue Tiga suddenly jumped up and kicked Melba over. At the same time, Galzan's head released a scorching light, which bombarded Tiga's back. Tiga paused and was knocked to the ground by Melba. The timer showed a flashing red light. Lina said anxiously, "Is there no way for us to support the Giant of Light?" Just as Tiga was attacked by 2 attacks. Suddenly, a figure with golden light rushed over, with wings spread out, and a sword in his hand. A long sword energy was suddenly drawn, forming a semicircle. Vice Captain Zanfang opened his eyes wide. "Who is that?" Crack. Galzan's ankle was cut off abruptly, and he fell to the ground and screamed miserably. Tiga was also wondering who helped him, but the battle continued. He jumped in the air to distance himself, and transformed into a composite red and blue state. He crossed his hands, pulled the bow open, and suddenly crossed his arms. Tiga's ultimate move Zapirio Ray was released. Melba's chest was hit hard, and his body could not bear such a huge amount of energy. Bang, and exploded. Thor, with such a big monster, how many years do you think Melba's meat can feed the Asgardians? Natasha, I bet that even the Asgardians would suffer from indigestion if they ate it. Tiga turned around and saw a flashing figure flying around Galzan like a hummingbird, emitting a sword energy from time to time. Galzan flapped his claws everywhere. Link flew around with difficulty. The huge monster gave people an illusion of slowness, but its size was there. Just like no matter how fast an ant was, it couldn't outrun a human. Link had to speed up enough. Tiga was in a dilemma, and didn't dare to attack Galzan easily, fearing that he would accidentally hurt the flashing figure. Moreover, his red light was flashing, and he couldn't maintain the giant form for too long, so he could only stand there anxiously. Lina and other members of the Theon team looked at the flashing figure flying around in surprise. Such a small figure actually made Galzan roar continuously, and there was fear in his voice that even humans could distinguish. Galzan had more and more wounds on his body, and his body was covered with sword wounds. He dared not delay any longer. He leaned over to dig a hole and prepared to escape. This guy burrowed into the ground at an incredibly fast speed, and soon only a tail was left. Link didn't want him to escape, so he rushed over with a glow all over his body and grabbed Galzan's tail. Iruma Kelly opened his mouth wide. That little shining figure, couldn't he want to pull Galzan out? Link actually grabbed the tail of the 50-meter tall monster. Galzan was so scared that he screamed, and even Tiga put his hands on his hips, looking like he had never seen such a thing before. This size difference is like an ant grabbing a person and not letting him run. The sense of disharmony brought by the size difference is too strong. Snap. Link pulled with all his strength and suddenly felt that the resistance disappeared. There was a tearing sound, and he saw that he had actually pulled off a small part of Galzan's tail. Galzan took this opportunity to drill into the ground. Link also flew backwards. Lina was so scared that she stammered, "Who is this shining figure?" They were so scared. Tiga was also startled and tried to use the shining figure that flew backwards. As a result, Link crashed to the ground, and the dust flew up. The place where Link fell happened to be the ruins where the 2 monsters smashed the ancient stone statue. Welcome to Vote and Subscribe to support the genuine work. Chapter 566, Link's own Giant of Light. Link crashed into the ground, creating a big hole, and many cracks appeared around him. But it didn't cause any damage to Link. At most he was dizzy. He gritted his teeth and rubbed his head, muttering, "My body is too small. It's too troublesome to fight this kind of monster." He just finished muttering. The Hylia certificate on his chest suddenly flickered, and golden light burst out. The surrounding stone statue ruins also lit up, and a buzzing sound could be heard. These stone statue ruins were infused with vitality by a magical power. Tiga was startled and hurriedly took a defensive posture. The ruins of the 2 ancient stone statues on the ground floated up, pieced together, and slowly shrank. A brand new light giant was formed. The cold murmur of the goddess Hylia came to Link's ears. Hylia certificate activated. absorb the remaining energy of the ancient stone statues and gain the ability to transform into a light giant. 4 minutes. Cooling time, hours. The light dimmed, and a new light giant was born. Tigger was stunned. This new giant of light has a metallic red body, dotted with golden lines. The timer on its chest is in the shape of a sacred triangle, and from the timer, a complex armor extends to its shoulders. Its eyes are dark gold, its mouth is smiling, and its forehead is decorated with a diamond-shaped gem. The diamond-shaped gem contains Link's body, but unlike Ultraman life forms like Tigger, its skin has a stronger metallic feel. Rather than life, it looks more like a human machine born for battle, or a fully armed warrior. Standing next to the gentle Tigger, the giant of light born from Link is even more sharp and handsome. But, Lina said, this new giant looks like a junior high school student. Link's face was also a little stiff. That's right, because the giant of light he gave birth to is shorter than Tigger. If Tigger is regarded as an adult, then Link's giant of light is as tall as Link himself. Natasha, size, as expected of Link, he can't grow up even in giant mode. Tony, interesting. Link hurriedly asked in his heart, why can't my giant be taller? This is not right. The Hylia Testament combines the energy of 2 ancient stone statues, so it should be taller than Tigger. How come it is only this small? Exclamation mark. It's a bit too much. But the goddess Hylia didn't answer. Link was so angry that he put his hands on his hips and glared at Tigger. Tigger was alert and shouted. Link simply sent out a mental will. It's been more than 3 minutes. Why don't you recover? Do you want to die suddenly? After saying that, Link jumped up and saw 2 mechanical wings like the flying bird in Zelda extending from behind the light giant. Link felt a little comforted. It turns out that part of the energy was used to create wings. No, it's still less. After the light giant flew away, Link flew back to the TPC Far East base and pretended to be calm. Tigger also turned into light, but because the transformation took too long, Dagu was mentally exhausted. Finally, he was found by the members of the Flying Swallow team who were searching all over the mountain. The whole world was shocked by the appearance of the 2 giants, and there were various speculations about them. As soon as TPC was interviewed, reporters asked about the giants, but TPC had no useful information. Even so, the reporters kept chattering. Under the secret activities of the Kyriel people, an uneasy atmosphere permeated the earth, as if the end of the world was coming. Although there is no war between countries on the earth, a deeper fear confuses people. What will the future of this world be like? It is precisely because of this that everyone is eager to find out about the information about the 2 giants of light. The appearance of Tigger and Link's giants of light undoubtedly ignited a flame in people's hearts, which can help them dispel the darkness. Link and Zelda also successfully began to work on studying alien creatures at the TPC base. The Swallow team and others were really busy refitting the weapons of Swallow number 1 and number 2, and searching for the whereabouts of Galzan, whose tail and legs were cut off by Link. The Avengers were also busy naming Link's giant of light. Tony, let's call this giant of light Avenger. It's very representative. Kerala, I agree. Strange, everyone. I have been confused for a long time. The name Avenger is too bitter and vengeful. It doesn't match Link very well. Poo papa, call the hero to beat people. Rogers, smiley face, Peppa, you typed the wrong name. Thor said, since this giant of light can only move for 3 minutes, then call him 3 minutes of real man. Natasha, can you be serious? Besides, what makes you think the giant of light is male? Hawkeye, how can weapons and tools have gender? Vision, I'm made of gems and vibranium, I'm a girl. Scarlet Witch, and Link's Fae, she's a sword, and she's also a girl. Banner, just call Link Ultraman. Star-Lord, isn't that too uncreative? Thor, hi. Are the Guardians of the Galaxy in the group? Gamora, yes, we also received a cell phone from Tony. Groot, I'm Groot. Rocket, furious, Groot, can't you type something else? You don't even have the tone. Who would recognize you when you speak? Exclamation mark. Destroyer, Giant, the name. Link's giant of light, let's just call him Little Giant. Gamora, size. To be honest, I really don't understand the thinking of the guy above. Loki, let's discuss the topic seriously. Since he's Link's giant of light, let's call him the hero of light. Thor. Oh, can you say the word serious from your mouth? Loki. Then let's discuss something inappropriate. I'll reveal to you the real reason why Thor was dumped by Jane. It's because of Thor. Loki has been physically muted by Thor. Rogers, that's called the Swordsman of Light. Hawkeye, swordsman? Why not the archer? Natasha, by the way, Link's duty in Hyrule is a guard knight. Let's just call this the Light Giant Guard Knight. Tony, kind of. Natasha, it's decided. I'll explain it to Link and Zelda right now. Banner, we haven't voted yet. Natasha, I've called Zelda and told her that everyone agrees with this name. Zelda also thinks it's a good name. Everyone. So, under Natasha's arbitrary decision, Link's Light Giant has his own name. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 567. A family must be in order. The Swallow team was busy searching for the escaped Galzan. Link and Zelda were wandering around the TPC base all day. Their work was quite leisurely, mainly cooperating with the Swallow team to analyze and deal with monsters. So when there were no monsters, they had nothing to do. So the boys and girls from Hylia wandered around like little spies to collect intelligence. Galzan was not found, and a new strange thing happened. At a quarry, there was a terrifying movement. Several workers in the underground cave of the quarry were inexplicably turned into stone statues. Their facial features were blurred, but their flaring arms and tense body shape meant that these people had encountered very terrible things before their lives. Now TPC is very sensitive to such incidents, so they immediately sent people to investigate. Zelda and Link also followed the team. The Swallow team was busy modifying the Swallow. Tony sneered, can these people transform toys into weapons? Because the quarry was dusty, Zelda wore a veil. At this time, the TPC people were communicating with the quarry workers. The workers shouted in unison, it's Gakuma. Our legendary beast lives on stones. Because we competed with him for stones, Gakuma was angry. At this time, two terrified TPC search team members ran out of the underground cave, and they screamed, it's a monster. The workers immediately became confused. It's Gakuma. The escaped TPC search team members shouted, it's a monster with a glowing long horn. Just like a dinosaur. Some workers were puzzled and asked, shouldn't it have two long horns? Did you see it wrong? The TPC search team members shouted, my companions have turned into stones and died in there. Who cares about one horn or two horns? At this time, Director Soe also came here. Director Soe is a very open-minded leader. Zelda was recommended to TPC by him. Director Soe first greeted Zelda and Link briefly. Then he took people to find out the details. At this moment, the earth trembled, and behind a stone mountain, the land rose and tore, and a monster with a long horn, Gakuma, appeared. Through the camera, the Avengers could see it clearly. Tony, what's going on in Japan? Why do monsters like to run here? Banner, maybe it's a convention in that world. We don't know why the battles of our Avengers always take place in New York. In an emergency, although the Fion had just been modified and had not been debugged. But Daijing and Lina insisted that they could go to battle. Nakamachi admired their fighting spirit, so he ordered them to drive the Fion to fight. At this time, Dagu was still studying Tiga's transformation, and so on with Nori. That's right, studying himself. Fion 1 driven by Lina and others flew over quickly, and Gakuma was wreaking havoc, chasing workers and TPCs, and turning everything he saw that was not stone into stone. Pim, turn into stone. What is the principle behind this? Banner, you still haven't seen enough. Although I'm still engaged in scientific research, I no longer believe in science. Swallow 1 immediately joined the battle. The laser launcher transformed from a flare bombarded the rocky back of Gakuma, knocking off a large piece of rubble. This made Gakuma scream wildly. Tony, humph, this laser is interesting, and it was hastily modified. I think I underestimated the technological strength of this world. Being recognized by Tony, it seems that Swallow 1's attack power is quite good. But soon, Swallow 1, piloted by the ace pilot of the Swallow team, was shot down by Gakuma and fell straight down. Star-Lord, too bad. This girl dares to call herself an ace pilot? Exclamation mark. Gamora, it should be because of the lack of experience in fighting monsters. Look carefully, Swallow One is not only attacking Gakuma, but also harassing it at close range, to attract the attention of the monster, to protect the evacuation of people on the ground. She did a good job. Swallow One fell rapidly, and was about to hit the ground. Swallow One did not have the super shock-proof protection of Iron Man. If it fell hard, the people inside would definitely not survive. At this time, Link came to an uninhabited area, holding the Hylia certificate in his hand, and light burst out from his fingers. The tall giant of light, the guard knight, appeared. Link rolled over habitually, and reached out to catch Swallow One. Lina, Zanfang and others in the fighter plane looked at the guard knight in surprise. Although the guard knight had a sharp shape and a huge body, it did not bring fear to Lina, Zanfang and others, but instead gave them an unusual sense of security. Lina panted and said, "The red giant. It appears again. He is here to save us." Zelda also hurriedly picked up her mobile phone and took a few photos of the giant guard knight. After Tony's magic modification, the camera function of the banana phone far exceeded that of a professional camera. Zelda liked it very much and often took it to take random photos of Link. When Gakuma was about to attack the guard knight, the Heian Second rose up behind the mountain. The body of the Heian Second separated from the middle, and a blazing laser shot out from it. After Zelda's investigation, the Avengers already knew that this beam was called the Texas Beam. Tony, what a weird name. It sounds weak. Bang! The Texas Beam bombarded the Gakuma. The wave was released, and the Gakuma exploded immediately. The TPC team members exclaimed, "Wow. The monster was defeated in one go." Tony, ahem. I underestimated the ability of these toy planes. The guard knight put down the Heian Ideko and others ran over, and Lina, Munakata and others waved to the guard knight to thank him. Director Soy also saw the giant with his own eyes and was shocked. But he also keenly noticed that the guard knight did not leave, nor did he pay attention to the thanks from the Heian team members, but stood vigilantly, as if waiting for something. Soon, the tremor sounded again on the ground. The stone mountain was torn apart, and a long howl was heard. Another Gakuma crawled out with two horns on its head. The Royal Guard Knight was about to go forward to fight, but Zelda was a little confused. These two Gakumas? Are they a couple? Did we kill her husband? Exclamation mark. The Royal Guard Knight hesitated when he heard what Zelda said. He knew that Zelda had some sympathy for the Gakuma. The knight naturally had to take the princess words seriously. The Gakuma had lived under this stone mountain for so many years, and had always lived in peace. It suddenly appeared today, because humans had compressed their living environment, and they could not survive, so they rose up to resist. It was too pitiful that they were to be destroyed by humans at this time. Zelda was kind-hearted, so she must have thought so. As a result, the princess's next sentence made the Royal Guard Knight speechless. Since one of them is dead, let the couple reunite in heaven. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 568 Supergiant Master Sword, 4th update. In fact, Zelda really felt a little sympathetic towards Gakuma. But she also knew that Link was fighting at this time. Knowing that her words and actions would affect Link, Zelda hurriedly changed the subject to avoid affecting Link. Besides, if Gakuma hadn't turned so many people into stone statues, it would be fine. Gakuma had caused a death at this time, so Zelda naturally had no reason to protect these two monsters. So, this princess is still very strict. The guard knight rolled in the air and kicked the head of the two-horned Gakuma. Bang! A lot of sparks were kicked out immediately. But at the same time, Gakuma raised his big head and tripped to the ground with the guard knight. The two horns glowed yellow and a petrifying laser shot out. Link immediately used bullet time to dodge the slippery light. A crow flew across the sky and was hit by the light and turned into stone. It fell pitifully next to the swallow. Because of the huge size at this time, it was more difficult to use bullet time to move at high speed. After dodging in front of Link, the second laser of Gakuma came again. Link had no choice but to continue dodging. Unlike the previous transformation into a wolf or a child, the huge body made it very uncomfortable to move. Link was still trying to adapt to the actions of the guard knight. Use Gakuma as a sparring partner. Hawkeye. Is this kid playing around? Although Link was practicing hard, he dodged back and forth. Gokuma chased him and destroyed everything. It scared the TPC members. Link didn't know what kind of psychological shadow he left on the TPC members. By running around and dodging, the sky collapsed, and the earth cracked, and everyone was panicked. Munakata stared. No, the entire red giant can't beat Gokuma. Let's go help the red giant. The flying swallow team is ready to fight. But Lina said with a stiff face. But, our flying swallow is right next to the monster's feet. Vice Captain Munakata. Deiko's eyes also became firm, and he quickly dodged to a remote corner. With a flash of light, Tigger appeared again. Shinjo shouted, "It's the giant." To distinguish them, the members of the Fion team called Tigger the Giant and the Royal Guard the Red Giant. As soon as Tigger appeared, he nodded vigorously at the Royal Guard. He rushed forward and slashed at the back of Gokuma. The Royal Guard was practicing dodging and moving his body seriously, but Tigger came to interfere and had to stop. Gokuma crawled on all fours, and Tigger was taller than the Royal Guard, so Gokuma attacked Tigger's knees directly, beating Tigger back step by step. The last laser petrified Tigger's body from his feet, and Tigger froze in place. Iruma Hui also stood up suddenly in the command room. She didn't expect Gokuma to be so strong. Just when everyone was terrified, Link found something interesting. He felt a power in the timer, put his hand in front of the timer on his chest, and pulled it out suddenly. He actually took out a huge shining master sword from the timer. Rogers, now I understand why the Guard Knight is so small. It turns out that part of it has become wings and a giant master sword. It turns out that the master sword can also grow bigger. This makes Link very happy. To be honest, his boxing skills are just so-so, and there is not much room for improvement. It is more comfortable to fight with a weapon in hand. But the Guard Knight was a little hesitant, because the master sword suddenly enlarged to this extent. Wouldn't it become fragile? But Faye's voice came from the master sword. "My lord Link, don't worry. The master sword has undergone a transformation, and can maintain its strength and power in its giant form. Link is relieved now, and can happily chop people." The TPC members shouted, "Sword. That red giant has a super big sword." So Link picked up the sword, and swung it with a sword light. He directly cut off the head of Gokuma. Tigger also changed into a powerful red form, shattered the stones under his body, and recovered. In Link's mind, the cold voice of Goddess Hylia murmured, "Get Gokuma capsule." Link, who was in the diamond-shaped gemstone on the forehead of the Guard Knight, roared in his hand, and a small azure-colored Gokuma statue fell into his palm. And he felt a surge of power flowing into the Guard Knight, and the Guard Knight's power increased. The Guard Knight heard the people on the ground cheering. And Tigger also came over and wanted to shake hands with the Guard Knight. Link. The Guard Knight hurriedly shook his head, spread his wings, and flew into the air, leaving a spot of light. Only Tigger was left standing awkwardly, thinking that the Guard Knight was wary of him. Even Lina and others were a little uneasy. Xinsheng said, "Is it possible that the Red Giant and the Big Giant have a bad relationship?" In fact, it's not, but Link has always thought that the shaking hands between Ultramen is stupid. The battle is over. The quarry has returned to peace, and the huge creatures that originally lived here have been eliminated. In the command room of the Flying Swallow team, the members of the Flying Swallow team gathered together for the usual meeting. In this battle, Deiko also accepted his identity as Ultraman, and eagerly proposed to everyone that, everyone, we have been calling those two giants. They are a bit too pitiful. How about we give them a name? Okay. Then call him Super Power King. The other little giant is called Super Magic Swordsman. That's bad. Deiko suggested, just call the big giant Ultraman Tigger. What do you think? Everyone was moved. But Munakata asked, then, what should the red giant be called? At this time, a voice that could be lowered came to Deiko's ears. Call it Guard Knight. Deiko was startled and coughed. How about Guard Knight? Although they won the victory, 3 monsters appeared in a row in just a few days, and the people were very frightened, so they paid more attention to the two giants. In order to stabilize the public's emotions, TPC also released a video about the battle between Tigger and Guard Knight, which caused a wave of discussion about the Giant of Light around the world. Even Captain Iruma K was invited by the TV station to explain the relevant matters to the public. The members of the Fian team were watching the show in front of the TV in the command room. Lena enviously said, "The captain is so photogenic. But why didn't the TV station invite me?" Link and Zelda watched the show with the Fian team members. Since they were young, everyone took good care of them. Just when the show was about to end, the beautiful host suddenly had her hair standing up and her face floating with it, as if she was hung by a rope around her neck. It was very strange and terrifying. Vision, shocked, "Is there still a ghost in the Ultraman world?" Link simply typed a reply, "Yes, there are ghosts in the Ultraman world." Vision, crying, "So scary." Venom, "Vision, you are not qualified to say this with your fighting power. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works." Chapter 569, Scare You, 5th update. Earthlings, darkness will once again cover the earth, and the sacred fire will ignite all filth and cleanse the entire world. The earth will be reborn in the hands of the Kirill people. After saying this gloomy sentence, the possessed female host fell down and fainted, and the studio was in chaos. Iruma Hui hurriedly left and alerted the Fian team. Nori asked, "Drive Zelda, do you know anything about the Kirill people?" Zelda actually didn't know anything about alien creatures, but with the reminder of Link's past life memory and her own light power's sensitivity to creatures, she could analyze a lot of information. The princess said, "The Kirill people are difficult to observe. They should be a kind of spiritual life form that needs to be placed in the human body to be known by us." She paused, and according to the voice of the Kirill people, Zelda said again, "They seem to have been lurking on the earth for a long time." Soon, a building in Tokyo was invisibly detonated, causing great panic. The Fian team entered the first level of combat readiness, but just when Iruma Hui was about to deal with this difficult matter. But she had to attend a meeting, which made Iruma unhappy. Staff Officer Yoshioka, the hawk in the TPC organization, has always advocated the restoration of the Earth's armed forces. He was dissatisfied with Iruma's expression of goodwill towards Ultraman Tiger in a public interview program. This meeting was also initiated by Staff Officer Yoshioka. Taking out a small Japanese paper fan, Staff Officer Yoshioka said, "Captain of the Flying Swallow team, why do you think that the Giant of Light, Ultraman Tiger and the Guards Knights in your mouth have no hostility or other intentions towards humans? Humph. Could it be because of a woman's intuition?" Iruma said with a cold face, "Ultraman Tiger and the Guards Knights protected us twice." Staff Officer Yoshioka stood up and shook the small paper fan. "The earth has actually fallen into the hands of outsiders to protect it. Humph. I said a long time ago that it was a wrong decision to abolish the Earth Defense Force." Director Soi's heart sank. Sure enough, this Staff Officer Yoshioka still wanted to take advantage of the issue to expand the army. Staff Officer Yoshioka continued, "Not only that, we should also investigate Ultraman Tiger and the Royal Guards closely. These two giants are too powerful and are a threat to the Earth." Director Soi smiled and said, "That's right. We have someone here who knows Ultraman Tiger and the Royal Guards very well. Let's listen to her opinion." Zelda walked in. Her beauty and outstanding temperament made the people in the meeting a little distracted, and her appearance of 15 or 16 years old made everyone look very strange. Staff Officer Yoshioka snorted, "Now even a little girl can join TPC. Who made the decision? Really? Tony, why do I feel familiar with this guy? He looks a bit like that guy." Natasha, General Ross, the one killed by Link. Banner, fortunately, Link is not here. If he sees someone there to talk to Zelda in this tone, he will be in trouble. But only Zelda's tender voice came, "Hello everyone. I have conducted some investigation and analysis on the two giants of light that appeared today." Her voice was not loud, and her tone was not heavy. But when Zelda's voice sounded, everyone felt a sense of tranquility and peace, as if they had come to a temple. Soul Eyes involuntarily looked at the young blonde girl. Zelda ignored the sarcasm of Staff Officer Yoshioka, but put her banana phone on the table, and a full-scale projection immediately appeared on the screen. It surprised everyone in the conference room. So clear. Tony, backward Japanese. In fact, the technological levels of Ultraman Earth and Marvel Earth are different. The communication technology capabilities of the Ultraman world are low, but the weapons are very strong. This is under the premise that there are no large armed organizations within the Ultraman Earth. Zelda said, "This is the data and performance of Ultraman Tigger, based on his performance in 2 battles. Ultraman Tigger's battles were extremely short, and he immediately withdrew after the battles. He did not show any intention of deliberately communicating with the humans on Earth. Tigger has a powerful light attack, but he rarely uses it. Judging from the current situation, this giant of light has extremely strong combat capabilities, and can even destroy all armed forces on Earth in an instant." Staff Officer Yoshioka shook his fan. "You see, Tigger really has the ability to threaten the Earth." Zelda glanced at Staff Officer Yoshioka. She likes this world very much. There is no war between countries, and the peaceful atmosphere makes people peaceful. She likes peace, hates war, and hates Link's participation in dangerous wars. So she is very cold to Staff Officer Yoshioka, who is like a hound. From the signs, Tigger has not done anything that poses a threat to the humans on Earth. He only appears to defeat the monsters. In other words, Tigger appears for only one purpose: to eliminate the creatures that wreak havoc on Earth. Staff Officer Yoshioka saw Zelda's clear eyes looking at him. For a moment, Staff Officer Yoshioka felt a deep sense of guilt, thinking that he was not worthy of being a human being. This girl's eyes were accusing him. It was stressful to look Zelda in the eye. The purer the thing, the harder it is to get close to it. Zelda continued, "Eliminate the source of destruction and prevent disasters. This is the purpose of Tigger's action, and the same is true for the Royal Guard Knight. They appeared twice, and each time they did not last more than 3 minutes. This shows that their attitude towards the Earth is to try not to interfere with it, and to protect it." But Zelda's next words were much more serious. "If you show resistance and malice to a strong person with good intentions, or even set him as an imaginary enemy, you can only turn your friend into an enemy. Developing armaments is for war, and the weapons you create will come in handy sooner or later. By that time, will Tigger and the Royal Guard Knight still be friendly to the Earth? That is an unknown." When they heard that it might change the attitude of Tigger and the Royal Guard Knight, the people in the conference room became agitated and began to reconsider the consequences of expanding armaments. Zelda frightened everyone a little because she heard from Link that Ultraman would always stand on the side of humans. It is impossible for Ultraman to be hostile to humans. But TPC doesn't know. Staff Officer Yoshioka also turned pale, but he never dared to face Zelda's eyes again. What a terrifying girl. Link, wearing a hood, appeared on the streets of Tokyo. His long ears twitched. Link was sensing the activities of the underground Kyriel people. His ears were much more accurate than high precision instruments. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 570, 569. Why are you so strong? Because I'm a translator. Link's senses were very sharp. He felt something underground, like an earthworm burrowing through the soil. After walking for a long time, he heard a strange sound. Finally, Link came to a place and stepped on it with his left foot. The power of light seeped into the ground. Soon, a smile appeared on Link's face. He had already captured the traces of the underground Kyriel people. Unknowingly, Link had already impressed the Kyriel people with the mark of the power of light. So he bought some snacks and drinks and rode his motorcycle back to the TPC base. Behind him was a nervous Japanese police car chasing him, who told Link to be fast and looked like a miner. Link easily got rid of the police car and returned to the base. When he passed by Iruma Ken's personal lounge, he heard a voice coming from inside. God's perspective. Link's eyes were covered with a layer of light gold, and his sight went straight through the wall. I saw a man with a strange look, playing with a photo of Iruma Ken's child in his hand. Threatening Iruma Keri, I advise you to pay tribute to us Kirii. Ultraman Tigger has only appeared for a few days, but he has won respect that we Kirii have never had. Is he worthy? At this time, Iruma Keri had already activated the alarm device under the table. Her conversation with Kirii had been heard by the people in the command room. He was heading there quickly. After Link saw the situation clearly, he pinched a candy from the bag and opened the door suddenly. Iruma, Kenny and Kirei were both shocked. I saw a long golden hair swinging, rustling. Kirei groaned, lowered his head stiffly, and saw a small bloody hole in his abdomen. Kirei glared at Link fiercely, and just as Link rushed over to pinch his neck, he turned into a blue figure and disappeared. Link said to Iruma Hui, are you okay? Iruma Hui looked at Link in shock. What did you use to injure that mysterious man just now? Link peeled off the sugar coating, took out a candy, put it in his mouth, and said muffledly, a candy? Do you want to eat it? Iruma Hui stared at Link and shook his head. How can you be so strong? Natasha, I gave Link the words and measures to hide his strength and identity, but it seems that he has forgotten them all. Link explained perfunctorily, that person has a poor physique. Iruma Hui naturally didn't believe it and looked at Link carefully, but now was obviously not the time to be curious about Link's strength. At this time, Dagu, Luna and others also ran over. Iruma Hui regained his composure and said, just now, a strange man like a ghost ran into my lounge and threatened me. It's related to the Kyriel people. The last building explosion was also related to them. Tony, that's right. Since the Kyriel people can remotely control other people's minds, why don't they directly control the guy called Zedging? Natasha, it's Soray. Tony, it's not important. Loki, share your experience of doing evil. Loki, the Kyriel can only control some people with weak minds. Link told Zelda the tag he set. Zelda immediately used it to lock the place where the Kyriel would bomb the city next time. They are lurking underground, and then they will send energy waves upwards to detonate the building. Zelda looked at the electronic map. According to my analysis, the Kyriel will detonate here. She pointed at a point on the electronic map. Great. The members of the Flying Swallow team praised for a while. It seems that they underestimated Zelda in the past. At this time, Staff Officer Yoshioka came to supervise the work, find faults. When he heard that they had found the next place to explode, he immediately said with a dark face, too slow. How do you do things? By the way, where is your captain? He is out on a mission. Who told you to allow a single person to carry out a mission? As a captain, you actually ignored the organization's regulations. Zelda raised her head and smiled. Link, next to the captain. Everyone was puzzled. Staff Officer Yoshioka said angrily, nonsense, Link is here, where is he? The Fian team was also looking around, because Link was next to Zelda just now. Yoshioka had nothing to say, and left with a long face. He just took 2 steps. With a thud, he fell on his butt and screamed in pain. There was a thin layer of ice on the ground for no reason. Based on the fingerprints on the photo of her child, Iruma Hui had found the location of the mysterious man. She carefully entered the house and found that he was alone. But according to the personal terminal at home, the mysterious man who threatened Iruma Hui has been dead for 3 years. Iruma Hui was shocked and felt a chill on his back. The figure of the Kyriel floated behind the door, and 2 rays of light shot out, hitting Megumi-Ima's back. Megumi-Ima was pushed against the wall by a strong force, and her whole body was paralyzed, and she could hardly breathe. What is the purpose of the Kyriel people? The Kyriel people smiled calmly. Of course, it is to lead the earth to start over. We will rule this beautiful planet. Just when the Kyriel people were about to kill Megumi-Ima, the situation was very critical, but Megumi-Ima strangely had no fear. Link suddenly appeared behind the Kyriel people and hit him on the head with a baseball bat. The Kyriel people immediately tilted their heads and fell to the ground, dead. Tony, I miss it so much. The last time I saw Link fighting with a baseball bat was when that bastard man who dared to spy on Pepper was making trouble. Ordinary physical attacks naturally cannot hurt the Kyriel people, but Link injected the power of light into the baseball bat. He killed him easily. Megumi Iruma collapsed to the ground. She gasped and glared at Link. Thank you for saving me again, but who are you? Link helped Megumi Iruma up and faced her question. He smiled modestly. Translation. Natasha, well, this woman is very smart. Link is almost exposed. It's time to kill her to silence her. Quicksilver, as expected of the Black Widow. Natasha, polite smile. What do you want to say? Megumi Iruma was thinking wildly. At this time, with the help of Zelda, the Flying Swallow team disintegrated the Kyriel's terrorist actions to continue to detonate the building demonstration. After Link killed the Kyriel, the giant Kyriel in the earth stood up. Deco did not hesitate and immediately took out the godlight rod, transformed into Tigger, and fought with the Kyriel. The two humanoid giants fought in the city, and the tall buildings collapsed easily like toys, and the ground was torn apart. The citizens in the middle of the night fled screaming in fear. The flying swallows and others were busy evacuating the surrounding crowd. Tigger kicked Kyriel away with a flying kick, and his huge body crushed a building, which happened to be the building where Link and Iruma Megumi were. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 571 Traveling through time and space to accompany you. Link complained in his heart, what's going on? He saw the ceiling collapse above his head. Seeing the critical situation, Iruma Hui actually generated a force out of thin air and hugged Link, wanting to protect him with his body. This touched Link very much. After all, he and Iruma Hui were not very familiar with each other. Iruma Hui actually subconsciously risked his life to save him. What a kind person. Link was stunned. He raised his hand and punched the concrete and steel bars that collapsed from the ceiling. Smoke and dust filled the air. He and Captain Iruma Hui were not hurt at all. Hawkeye, oh, everything is exposed. Link's acting skills are bad except for women's clothes. Carola, women's clothes? What good things did I miss? Rogers, I bet that, if you keep talking, Link will soon come back to wear them and beat you up. This kind of power. Iruma Hui looked at Tigger fighting with the Kyriel outside in surprise, then looked at Link and said slowly, are you, Zillalala? Iruma Hui's body stiffened, and electric currents came out of his body. She rolled her eyes and fainted. Link looked at the fainted Iruma Hui, and was stunned for a moment, then sent a message to ask the Avengers, can this current make her lose her memory? Avengers. Banner, cough, be more powerful. Beep beep beep. Iruma Hui, who had been electrocuted, had electric light coming out of her body again and twitched twice. Link continued to send messages and asked, is this okay? Avengers. Thor, Link, you are really good at playing. Vision, you need to make someone lose their memory. Send me over, maybe I can help. The premise is that I can go over. Poo Papa, Brave Master, I look like you. Midona, Nori and Yaya can't send messages, but we are the same. Yaya has been crying all day recently, and she has a bad temper and sets people on fire. Damie was burned by it, and now runs away when he sees Yaya. Link's expression softened a lot, and he replied, I'll bring you here soon. The screen was soon filled with messages from the Avengers, all of which were, we are waiting for you to come back too. Link smiled and took back his phone, feeling warm in his heart. In the Marvel world, at the Avengers base, everyone was sitting in the hall, but they didn't communicate with each other, just holding their phones. Communicating with their phones. There was a reason why they chatted so frequently, because they were afraid that Link and Zelda would be lonely in the new world. Even if they were not together, the Avengers would do their best to accompany Link and the others. That's why Tony worked so hard to stay up all night to develop a mobile phone that could communicate across time and space before Link left. Even in the most remote places, the Avengers can contact Link. They have never been far away. The Avengers have never been short of people. After Link settled Jujianhu, at this time, the battle between Tigger and the Kyriel had passed for a while. Tigger had the upper hand, and all he needed was a Zephyrian ray to end it. At this moment, Link remembered the order of Goddess Hylia. Mission. Defeat the Kyriel. Hey. The Kyriel were about to be defeated by Tigger. Link panicked and immediately transformed into the God Knight, raised his sword and threw it. The Master Sword pierced through the Kyriel's head, grabbing the head smoothly. Tigger flashed a red light and looked at the God Knight. Link thought Tigger would be angry that he grabbed the heads, but he actually gave the God Knight a thumbs up. Thank you. Link was amused when he saw it. It turned out that Tigger thought the God Knight was helping him. Ultraman will not release the ultimate move easily because it is extremely energy consuming, tiring to use, and dangerous if it misses. They will try not to use it if they can. So the God Knight's sword helped Ultraman instead. As expected of Ultraman, his heart is sunny, and he thinks everything is good. He is a good man. So the glorious journey of the guard knight to grab heads began. Get Kyriel capsule. A small statue of Kyriel appeared in Link's hand. This time it was silver grey and very well made. At the same time, a force once again surged into the body of the guard knight, and it was strengthened again. The battle was over, and everyone was very happy. Only the Japanese government was unhappy, because they had to subsidize the cost of the bombed house. Whether it was deliberately destroyed by Kyriel or accidentally destroyed by Tigger, it was all on the head of the Japanese government. But they had no choice but to pray that Ultramen and monsters would not fight in urban areas in the future. Should we fight in foreign countries? What are they doing gathering in the Japanese archipelago? People from the Japanese government complained. They don't know yet. The future is very cruel. Almost all monster battles broke out in Japan, and they will suffer in the future. Link also had some difficulties, because he found that the look in Irumakei's eyes was still strange. He felt that Irumakei had not lost his memory, and it should be that the electricity meter was not enough. He planned to block the door and shock him twice. Vice Captain So also noticed the abnormality of Iruma's UI, and took the opportunity to ask in a low voice, "Captain, the way you look at Link recently is a little strange. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this child?" Iruma's UI smiled bitterly. "Nothing, but I can't help shivering when I see Link recently. I don't know what's going on." At this time, Lina came over and said with a smile, "Are you talking about Link? What's wrong with this child?" Iruma's UI smiled. "Nothing. This child has been here for a while, and I don't know how he is doing." Lina smiled brightly, "Except that Link doesn't like to talk. He has a good personality. He is also good looking, more handsome than a movie star. But I'm a little unclear about his relationship with Dr. Zelda. They are together all day long, a bit like a couple, but..." So also nodded. "By the way, Link and Zelda's ears are both long and pointed, quite like the elves in Western legends." Link and Zelda explained to the outside world that long ears are inherited from the family. In fact, few people would question this too much, because there are too many people with special looks. It is human nature that one cannot suspect someone of being an alien or from another world just because his ears and eyes look strange. Of course, this is also due to the fact that Natasha and Tony did a perfect job in the early stages, which made it impossible to doubt. They even made a long family tree for Link and Zelda, with more complete information than the people on Earth in this world. Lina nodded. "Yes. Their faces and ears are so similar, just like siblings." Iruma Megumi interrupted immediately. "Okay, don't pursue other people's affairs too much." Her head ached slightly, and she felt as if she had forgotten something important. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 572, Towards the Unknown End of Humanity, third update. Bad news came from the distant universe. The Saturn III spacecraft, which was drifting in the vast space for exploration, lost contact due to an unknown accident. The life and death of the 3 astronauts on the spacecraft is unknown. Even Banner felt sad when he heard this. Have the Earthlings in this world spread their footprints to Saturn? In the Marvel world, although there are super geniuses like Tony and Banner, the overall level of technology is not high. Zelda chatted with the Avengers. Yes, there is a friend on the Saturn III who is known by the New City team members. He is in pain now. The Earthlings in this world are working hard to move forward. Even if they encounter such a tragedy, they have not given up the pace of exploring the universe. At this time, Lina came over with a smile, looked at Zelda's mobile phone outside, and asked, "Doctor, what are you doing?" The banana mobile phone modified by Tony has a very excellent shielding device. If an outsider looks at it, he will only see a pure white. Zelda quickly put away her phone and smiled. "Nothing, I just heard the alarm." "What happened?" Lina said. "When the Dagu team was patrolling in the sky, they suddenly found a huge UFO crashing into the sea. It's not clear what it is." Then Lina whispered to Zelda, "I heard that the families of the astronauts who disappeared on the Saturn III seemed to have seen the crashed astronauts." Worry appeared on her face. It should be the dead astronauts who were very lonely in the boundless space and returned to the Earth to meet their families. Beep. The alarm sounded again. The command room received news that a giant monster with a metal texture all over its body, like a warship, landed on the seaside near a high purity energy storage station. It was the unidentified object that Dagu saw falling from the sky just now. The Fian was dispatched immediately. Digging reported, after analysis, the body material of this monster is exactly the same as that on the Figure 3 spacecraft. Shinjo, who was driving the flying swallow with Dagu, was furious. Could it be that this bastard attacked the Saturn III? Is he the culprit who killed the 3 astronauts? Zelda's phone sent a message from Link, saying that he had gone to the high purity energy storage station. According to Link's memory, this monster was very strong and hard, and even Tiga was helpless. Rogers, Japan again. Do monsters like this East Asian country so much? Banner, I dare say that the people of New York had such doubts. The command center temporarily named this warship-like monster Ligadolin. Ligadolin stepped in with his big feet, directly facing the attack of the flying swallow, and destroyed the high purity energy storage station. 2 sickle-like arms inserted into the energy tank to absorb high purity energy. The monster's body quickly heated up and became more powerful. Vice Captain Zanfang reported, Ligadolin has absorbed high purity energy and has become even more powerful. Lina was confused. Is this big monster a creature or a machine? Despite the full efforts of the Fian team to stop it, Ligadolin still absorbed the high purity energy station and destroyed it. At this time, a flash of light appeared in the sky, and the huge red figure of the guard knight spread his wings and flew over, suddenly slashing at Ligadolin with a sword. Lina was surprised and said, "It's the guard knight." Bang! The master sword chopped on Ligadolin's head, exploding a large area of sparks. Then, with the momentum of falling, the blade cut off a piece of Ligadolin's head. Dagu exclaimed, "It's so strong." The guard knight knew how powerful Ligadolin was, so he went all out at the beginning, swung the blade, and raised it upwards, and a huge sword energy flashing with dazzling light cut towards Ligadolin. Digjing opened his mouth wide, to cool. Just like the swordsman in ancient times, that sword energy. Dagu also murmured, "It's completely different from Tiga." The sword energy shot out, but Ligadolin didn't dodge it, but opened his sickle-like arms. The sword blade slashed Ligadolin's chest, and there were 2 hissing sounds. The light flashed twice quickly, and was actually absorbed into Ligadolin's body. Zelda sat up in shock in the command room. The Avengers meeting room also exploded. Tony, what kind of monster is this? It can even absorb Link's light power. Strange, no wonder Link said that the Ultraman world is very dangerous. Can this monster absorb Link's power without limit? Professor X, the Black Emperor, can also absorb other people's power, but he has a limit. The exaggerated sword energy of the Guard Knight can never do it. The Guard Knight was also shocked and saw that Ligadolin's power became even stronger. Link was stunned, and then he was refreshed and prepared to go forward with his sword. He didn't believe that there was anyone he couldn't kill. But Arumake immediately made a decision and ordered, "Munakata, go and stop the fight between the guards and Ligadolin. Otherwise, Ligadolin will absorb the power of the guards and will only become stronger and stronger." So the Fian risked standing in front of the guards and not letting them get close. Deco and Lina inside yelled at the guards, "Stop, don't continue fighting. It's dangerous." Ligadolin took this opportunity to quickly escape from the battlefield, and the jets behind him sprayed air and flew into the sky. The guards put his hands on his hips, looking very unhappy, staring at the Fian floating in the air. His eyes were so sharp that the Fian team members all laughed dryly. Lina whispered, "Did we anger the guards?" Deco whispered, "It seems so." The guards also flew away unhappy. The Fian team and others collected the fragments of Ligadolin cut off by the guards, returned to the command room, and handed them to Zelda for a search. The Avengers are helping Link find a way to deal with Ligadolin. Thor, brave, just let Link release his sword energy and kill him. Hawkeye, what if he becomes a super giant? Tony, actually, I've been wanting to say this for a long time. Link and Zelda's light power is too pure, and it is a very suitable energy source to absorb. Zelda quickly searched for some information in the fragments, came to the command room, and sent it to the Flying Swallow team and others to watch. Through a special energy to signal method, the face of the deceased astronaut appeared on the command room screen, with a bizarre and absurd cosmic electromagnetic wave pattern as the background. Everyone, Saturn III was attacked by an unknown light creature. We were unable to resist, and our own knowledge and memories were completely used by this light creature, and Saturn III was also devoured by it. He has no emotions, and only knows how to greedily become stronger. Everyone, please stop him from continuing to destroy our beloved Earth. By the way, please tell our family and friends, we can't come back. We are attached to the unknown vast universe, at the forefront of mankind, a place that has been reached by the efforts of people all over the world. However, our hearts will always be thinking of you. Take care. The picture disappeared hastily. Xinchen clenched his fists. Welcome to vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Some of the plot details have been changed to speed up the story. Chapter 573. The royal gods are going to be enemies with humans? Fourth update. Shinjo slammed his fist on the table. They also have beautiful families. For the future of mankind, they set foot on space without hesitation. But because of that bastard Ligadolin, they are all gone. I rumor I said. Captain Shinjo, calm down. Shinjo shook his head. Sorry, I just can't control my emotions. Listen to what he said just now. Even if they encountered a disaster, their bodies merged with the monster. They didn't regret this trip to space. We humans rely on people like this to move forward step by step to today. Everyone was silent. I rumor I was a considerate captain, and did not pursue Shinjo's rudeness. Everyone was immersed in sadness. At this time, Link suddenly said, maybe, they are not dead. Shinjo stared at Link, and suddenly nodded seriously. That's right. We must defeat the monster quickly. Maybe we can take out the 3 astronauts from his body. But the voice became smaller and smaller. Everyone knew that the chances of the 3 astronauts surviving were very small. Ligadolin soon appeared near a large power station again. Digjing sighed. This guy still likes to be greedy. I rumor I said. Flying Swallow Team, move. Natasha, this sentence is like the Captain's Avengers, assemble. Rogers, laughing. I have nothing to do recently. I haven't said this sentence for a long time. I hope I won't say it again. Scarlet Witch, set a flag again. Quicksilver, it doesn't matter. The flags set by the captain usually don't work. The Flying Swallow Team set out again. Everyone left, and I rumor Nori, Zelda and Link were left in the command room. Zelda glanced at Link quietly, and the two looked at each other, and communicated in their hearts. What did you find? Maybe there is a chance to rescue the 3 astronauts. The Flying Swallow Team quickly blocked Ligadolin. The laser was fired at the monster's head. After several battles, the Flying Swallow Team's ability to deal with monsters has been greatly improved. Ligadolin was bombarded by artillery fire and waved his arms everywhere. Vice Captain Zanfang said in a deep voice, good job, everyone. We will completely defeat Ligadolin with this momentum. Hawkeye, so, the only 2 modified search planes on the entire Earth are fighting? Falcon, although they are few in number, their combat effectiveness is extraordinary. Compared with the first time they encountered the monster, they have improved a lot. Zanfang ordered Fian No. 2 to separate the fuselage and turn on the Texas ray to seriously injure Ligadolin. But Ligadolin's panicked waving of his arms stopped strangely, and his head turned towards Fian No. 2. The head concentrated its blazing rays. Dagu shouted, not good. He hurriedly turned the fuselage around, but the turning range was too large, which was absolutely illegal. But thanks to this, he avoided the vital part of the fuselage. But even so, the tail of Fian No. 2 was hit, and a lot of flames came out, and it fell into the bushes on one side. Dagu tried his best to control the landing. At the moment of the accident, he transformed into Tigger. He hugged Fian No. 2, and gently put it down. Tigger turned and rushed towards Ligadolin, and kicked him flying. He shouted, rushed to press Ligadolin to the ground, and swung his fists to hit his head. Tigger's grip alone was 50,000 tons. The force of his punches was even more terrifying. Punches hit Ligadolin's head one by one, and the shock waves could be heard through a forest. Banner, the flying swallows can fight such a behemoth and assist Tigger. Not to mention fighting, the pressure alone is not small. They are really amazing. Tony, the last time I fought such a big monster was when I fought the ancient giant in New York. I made my discarded Iron Man into a super robot and fought the ancient giant. Now think about it, should I also make a giant armor as tall as Tigger? Thor, okay, I'm optimistic about you. There is no enemy of your super robot on Earth. When you make it, remember to use it for me. I want to beat my sister. Tigger had the upper hand temporarily, but gradually Tigger also felt something was wrong, because he noticed that his heavy blow did not hurt Legadolan much. Then a huge force came from behind, and a sickle-like arm slashed Tigger's back, causing severe pain. Tigger fell, and Legadolan immediately stood up, releasing light, and knocked Tigger over on a mountain. Tigger's abdomen was burned by Legadolan's scorching light. He ran over quickly, strangling Tigger's neck with 2 sickles. Tigger struggled desperately, but the red light began to flash. Zillalala. A large amount of yellow lightning was released from the 2 sickles, bombarding Tigger's body, making it impossible for Tigger to gather strength. The situation became so critical in an instant. Shinjo seemed to have thought of something, and immediately reported to Iruma Kerry, Captain, please send a message to Saturn III. Maybe the astronauts on Saturn III can hear our voices. Iruma Kerry nodded. Okay. Team member Shinjo hurriedly picked up the communicator and shouted, please, don't be a puppet of this monster anymore. You can do it. Take the energy in Legadolan's body and leave. Don't let him control and harm the Earth anymore. We humans must never give in so easily. Wake up. Zelda looked at the screen, moved her lips slightly, and began to call out. Soon, under the call of Zelda and Shinjo, and the information of the family photos of the 3 astronauts sent by Iruma Kerry, the souls of the 3 astronauts in Legadolan began to struggle. The pressure on Tigger's neck was released, and he fell down. He quickly rolled away, got ready, crossed his hands, stretched his arms, and crossed them. The period beam shot out. At this moment, in front of the out-of-control Legadolan, a flash of light appeared, and the figure of the guard knight appeared. Daijing was shocked and said, what does the guard knight want to do? It's too dangerous. The guard knight blocked his chest with his sword and rushed forward, and actually resisted the period ray. Tigger's ultimate move was so terrible that the guard knight had a hard time resisting it. He was suddenly hit, and took 2 steps back. Then he shouted, and swung his sword hard, and finally blocked Tigger's period ray. The guard knight was also hit hard, kneeling on one knee on the ground, panting heavily. Tigger was puzzled. Xinsheng was even more angry on the ground. Why did the guard knight help Legadolan? Iruma Hui was shocked. Is the guard knight going to be our enemy for this monster? Tigger saw that 3 minutes were about to pass. He had no time to think about why the guard knight helped Legadolan. He had to hold on within 3 minutes to destroy Legadolan. But as soon as he went up, the guard knight pointed the master sword at him and did not allow Tigger to approach. Tigger was also a little angry, but at the same time, the guard knight turned sideways, reached out to the out-of-control Legadolan, and held his sickle-like arm. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 574 A Miracle Appears. 5th update. Everyone in the Fian team was very puzzled. Nori asked in confusion, are the royal guards and Legadolan in the same group? And Munakata was also very shocked. He was silent for a moment and asked a sharp question to Iruma Hui. Captain, what should we do if the royal guards become our enemies? Iruma Hui pursed her lips. She wanted to say, anyone who is hostile to humans is our enemy. This is a very normal idea. But she had another idea in her mind, which was illogical. Just as Staff Officer Yoshioka mocked, it was more like a woman's sixth sense than judgment. Iruma Hui said, the royal guards cannot be our enemies. You should stay put first, and remind Tigger to do the same. Vice Captain Munakata frowned and said, but if that's the case, the staff will be indifferent to our indifference. Iruma Hui said, I will explain to them. Don't move. Let the royal guards act. Tigger's red lights flashed faster and faster, and he wanted to destroy Legadolan very much. He wanted to bypass the guard knight, but the guard knight's sword was always pointed at his head, making it difficult for him to get close. The guard knight held Legadoran's hand, and a light golden light poured into Legadoran's body, and Legadoran quickly increased his strength. Lena was puzzled. Why? The guard knight is actually supplying energy to Ligadaran. Xincheng punched the hood of the car and said, what exactly is the guard knight going to do? The Avengers chat group was also discussing. Thor, Link didn't really believe what I said and wanted to starve the monster to death. I was kidding. Rogers, I believe Link must have his own reasons. Everyone just watch. Zelda was very calm. Link had told Zelda his plan in advance, and this plan was a bit dangerous. After a brief hesitation, Zelda still chose to support Link's action. She knew Link's philosophy very well, and it has always been redemption over fighting. Soon, the triangular indicator light of the guard knight also began to flash red. He supplied a large amount of energy to Ligadran, so that he himself became increasingly deficient. At this time, the general staff had already issued an order to Narumi Hui, asking her to attack the guard's knights. Otherwise, Ligadran would be fed by the guard's knights and become more dangerous. Narumi Hui had no choice, so the Heian rose again and released light towards the guard's knights. Lina and others whispered, I'm sorry, guard's knights. As a result, at this time, the originally angry Tigger suddenly stood in front of the guard's knights and actually blocked the light of Heian number 1 and number 2. The light bombarded the X-shaped arms crossed on Tigger Ultraman's chest, causing him a little burn. Nori was shocked and said, why did Tigger Ultraman also start to protect Ligadran? What's going on? Munakata suddenly shouted, look. Ligadran's chest was shining with a light of light, and the bodies of 3 astronauts emerged from his chest. Shinjo was stunned. Could it be that the guard knight wanted to rescue the 3 astronauts from Ligadalan's body? With the efforts of the guard knight, the bodies of the 3 astronauts became more and more obvious. The guard knight was so tired that his knees trembled. He put away the master sword and inserted his other hand into Ligadalan's chest. Digjing shouted, that's right. The guard knight first injected his own power into the monster's body and used his light power to separate the 3 astronauts from the monster's body. Iruma Megumi hurriedly said, everyone stop attacking. Shinjo flew directly to the guard knight and shouted, I'm sorry, guard knight. I misunderstood you. Come on. Don't give up. Come on. Zelda also clenched her 2 white fists and cheered for Link in her heart. Rogers, it's Link after all. Ancient One smiles, he is like this because he is too kind and doesn't know how to choose. Scarlet Witch, scared, Master Ancient One, you have become a ghost, how can you use a mobile phone? Strange, ahem, many things in the world can be solved with magic. The guard knight used his strength to take the 3 astronauts out of Ligadalan's body, but the process was extremely difficult. Ligadalan's body was still instinctively absorbing the power in Link's arm to decompose the guard knight. This made Link very painful. Link pulled his arm out inch by inch and then screamed. He pulled his arm out suddenly and rolled over. 3 unconscious astronauts were lying in his palm. Digjing simply checked with the live body detection device on the Swallow and was immediately surprised and said, alive. The 3 astronauts are alive. Everyone was overjoyed. Tigger also immediately gathered the Zapirian ray and detonated Ligadalan with 1 blow. The guard knight was too tired to stand up and was finally helped up by Tigger. The 2 giants nodded and turned into light and disappeared. A flash of white flashed in the sky. Megumi Naruma smiled at the scene. She said happily, the Royal Guard Knight is really helping us all the time. He brought a miracle. The Flying Swallow team and others soon found the 3 astronauts. The 3 astronauts woke up hazily. They rubbed their eyes and said, is this heaven? Heaven really smells like grass. Shinjo and others hurriedly shook the 3 astronauts' bodies. Hey, wake up. You are alive. The astronauts. Hey, it's not a dream. We are alive. Shinjo nodded suddenly, yes, you are alive. It was the Royal Guard Knight and Ultraman Tigger who saved you. You can reunite with your family. Link also returned to the base tiredly. Zelda hurriedly helped Link up and asked, how are you? She helped Link to the lounge. Link placed a Ligadaran capsule on the bedside. Not only that, after defeating Ligadaran this time, Link also gained a new ability, shining like a star in his body. Link didn't use it, but the energy emanating from it should be related to the characteristic of Ligadaran absorbing energy. Zelda smiled and leaned over, gently kissed Link's forehead, and said softly, my brave man, you should have a good rest. Link and Zelda looked at each other, and each of them saw each other's face in their eyes. The two looked at each other quietly, as if time had stopped flowing. Tony, yo yo yo, live broadcast. Vision, woo woo woo. Scarlet Witch, what's wrong with you? Vision, why do I feel my heart pounding? Scarlet Witch, hey hey hey. Tony, ha. Link and Zelda turned off the camera at the same time. Welcome to Vote and Subscribe to support genuine works. Chapter 575, Guard Night, leave the dirty work to Digger. The Knights of the Guard successfully rescued 3 astronauts from the body of Legadron, causing shock around the world. It was only a few days after everyone held a memorial event for these space pioneers. The Knights of the Guards pulled them out of the monster's body intact. The astronauts were able to laugh, cry, eat and drink. They all love life and the universe. Although the 3 outstanding astronauts expressed their openness to death in the message, left to the Earth, regaining life is another matter. The 3 astronauts were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. They were so grateful to the Knights of the Guards who saved them that they didn't know how to express it. I'm an astronaut and scientist. I have never believed in God, only in technology and ourselves. But the appearance of the Knights of the Guards and Ultraman Tigger made me realize the existence of God in my heart. They are God. When facing the TV interview, their words were very incoherent. Dagu and the members of the Shinjo team all smiled. Dagu thought to himself, this is the meaning of being an Ultraman. But at the same time, a question arose in his mind. What does the Guard Knight think? I feel that he knows me very well, but I know almost nothing about him, except that he is good at using swords. Will he be forced to have superhuman abilities like me? Thinking about it this way, it seems that I'm not so alone. At this time, Iruma Hui and others came in and asked, Team Dagu, where is Vice Captain Munakata? Dagu replied, command him to rest today. Where is Vice Captain Munakata at this time? He sat deeply and quietly in a quiet bar, listening to the soft piano sound in his ears, surrounded by the whispers of other people. The cozy and dim scene of the bar made Munakata feel very relaxed. However, there was no wine on his table, but a glass of milk that was out of tune with the surroundings. At this time, a reporter came over. The reporter sat on the chair opposite to Zhang Fang and said, Gentlemen, you look a little unwell. Zhang Fang raised his eyelid slightly and asked, why do you say that? The reporter said, it doesn't seem to be alcohol in your hand. Zhang Fang smiled calmly, I have quit drinking. I need to keep my mind clear at all times. Alcohol will paralyze people's nerves and make people chaotic. Zhang Fang said it very coolly. But in fact, he concealed a fact. That is, he doesn't drink at all. He has been a good boy since he was a child. The reporter laughed and said, I have quit drinking 6 times. Zhang Fang had already seen that this person was a reporter. So he didn't say much. His eyes turned to other places, and then his eyes twitched. Because he saw Link and Zelda in the bar. Zhang Fang's heart immediately burst into anger. You 2 little brats, what are you doing in the bar? Dating? Too much. You are so young, and don't learn well. The 2 children also want to hide their identities and wear sunglasses. The sunglasses are too big and their faces are too small, directly covering 1/3 of their faces. It's ridiculous. So Captain Munakata stood up and angrily beat him. He came to the table, where Zelda and Link were sitting with his hands on his hips and coughed. Link, Zelda. Why are you here? Zelda shushed Captain Munakata seriously. But the movement here has attracted the attention of a man with a strange look on his face. He stood up and left. It was a disguised Kirill. Link and Zelda hurriedly followed him, and Zelda whispered to Munakata about the matter. Munakata hurriedly said, leave him to me to track. It's too dangerous for you 2 kids to move. Go back to headquarters first. At this time, Munakata's communicator rang, reporting that a rotten monster appeared on the beach, and that Munakata needed to come back to perform the mission. Munakata could only whisper, then you guys, be careful. Link suddenly took a step forward, and brushed past Munakata. An arrow appeared in his hand, and stabbed it fiercely. Swish. It stabbed the Kirill man's head. The man fell down dejectedly. The people in the bar were shocked, and the reporters stared at Link in horror. Zhang Fang raised the communicator loudly. Everyone calm down. We are the victory team, and we are on a mission. Everyone calm down. Link puffed up his mouth, and said to Zanfang, "It's all your fault." Then he walked away with an unhappy face. Zanfang was puzzled, and Zelda explained, "The Kyriel noticed us and gave up the body directly. We failed to track it." Zanfang scratched his head and apologized quickly. "I'm so sorry." After dealing with the mess and refusing the interview with the reporter, Zanfang hurried to the beach. When he and his team arrived there, they saw a highly rotten monster corpse lying on the beach. From 3,000 meters away, a foul smell could be smelled. Daijing complained, "Why are we responsible for the corpse? Oh, where is Dr. Zelda, who is in charge of studying the monster? Why didn't she come?" Zanfang said, "The doctor said she already has information about this rotten monster, so she doesn't need to come." Daijing suddenly exclaimed, "So that's it." Zelda thought the monster's corpse was too dirty and smelly, so she made an excuse not to come. Zanfang said seriously, "She is very professional, don't think of her like that." In fact, Zelda really thought the monster was too smelly, so she made an excuse not to come. Link is the same. The ears and noses of aliens are very sensitive. This rotten monster, called Zelizan, is not dead. It will cause some trouble in the future, but Link and Zelda don't want to deal with it. It's too disgusting. Anyway, in Link's memory, this Zelizan rotten monster did not cause any casualties, so it was left to Tigger to deal with it. "What? You asked our victory team to move this monster away. We have become garbage collectors," Daijing and others complained after receiving the new order. As the deputy captain, although Sa was reluctant, he still said, "Let's follow the order." Shinjo suggested with a dry laugh, "How about we ask the two giants of light to help us move this rotten monster?" Daiko's face turned bitter, and he said, "I think Ultraman Tigger will not be very happy to be treated as a garbage collector." What about the guard knight? At this time, a rotating card flew from a distance, with great force, piercing into the sand. Daijing was startled, picked it up, and saw two Chinese characters written on the card, "Reject." Daijing was shocked. This must be thrown by the guard knight. He is nearby. Daiko was startled and said, "The guard knight can also write." So shouted, "Hurry up and check if anyone is looking at us around. He is a guard knight." Everyone looked around nervously, looking for strange sights around them. As a result, they found a sneaky middle-aged man. Welcome to Vote and subscribe to support genuine works. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.